Chapter 2966 Moment God Han Sen's expression changed. He stared at Golden Growler, whose body still had its activeness. Golden Growler's life force was not gone yet. Compared to the last time he had seen him, his life force was weaker by a considerable amount. His body still had that pouncing forward position. His claws faced the God Temple's gate. He looked like he was just frozen where he was. What is going on? What happened to Golden Growler? Han Sen's face did not change. He could not figure out what was going on just yet. The demon lady seemed to understand Han Sen, was focusing on Golden Growler. She looked at the God Temple and Golden Growler and said, "Mister, that is the God Temple of Moment God. Back then, when all those God spirits descended, Moment God was there. He was a God spirit that governed time. If I see things correctly, then Golden Growler must have been struck by his moment forever. That moment lasts forever. I am afraid his life will see it trapped at that moment. He will never escape that." Han Sen hurriedly asked, "A high-level God spirit? How are the levels of gods determined? How would you define Moment God's power compared to the creatures of the universe?" The demon lady replied, "From what we know, God spirits have 4 levels, which are destruction, disaster, annihilation, and reboot. If you are talking about his power, that is hard to judge. High-level God spirits are stronger than low-level God spirits. That is for sure. Because all the God spirits took over the universe's creatures when descending, their powers are affected by their bodies. The best they can be is true God class. They cannot go any higher. Even annihilation God spirits were easily killed by the Master. In the God Temple, it is hard to gauge the power of a God spirit. Back then, I, Old Vulture, and the others had top-class treasures and God personality armaments, but could barely fight a disaster-class God spirit. Moment God is an annihilation God spirit. In the God Temple, I was unable to fight him. When he descended, the Master was able to heavily injure him. He fled back to the God Temple after that." Han Sen frowned and said, "I have the Holy Kirin to fight him. Which do you think would be stronger?" The demon lady and Old Vulture were shocked. They quickly said, "Mister, you must not do this. The Holy Spirits were made by Sacred Leader to kill God spirits, but they were designed to be used by 4 spirits combined. You also need the Race Lanterns buff. That is how you kill top-class God spirits. Right now, the power of the Race Lanterns are being used to break the space barrier, and there is only one Holy Spirit. If you just use the Holy Kirin, I am afraid with that power, you will only be equal to a disaster God spirit. With the power you have, Mister, you cannot attempt to challenge an annihilation God spirit." Han Sen stared at Golden Growler in front of the God Temple, and did not speak. Golden Growler was just frozen and motionless. Han Sen felt that his life force was fading. He guessed that Golden Growler's life force would probably be depleted within a few years. The demon lady seemed to understand what Han Sen was thinking. She quickly said, "Mister, it will not be too difficult for you to defeat Moment God. From what I know, for a disaster God spirit, there is a no-world God. Its God personality armament has no world power. It will not be limited by time and space. Mister, you can kill no-world God first, get no-world God's God personality armament, and then use the God personality armament's power to fight Moment God. Your likelihood of success would be greatly increased." "Dad, little Gold seems to be in pain. Should we go and save him?" Baoa had been lying on Han Sen's shoulder. She was looking at Golden Growler in front of Moment God's temple. Han Sen stayed silent and did not speak. He saw space was disrupted by a roaring sound. A girl with a snake-like body and a green giant beast traveled through space. They were heading for Moment God's God Temple. Han Sen recognized the green-haired big beast. That green-haired big beast was the one who stole Golden Growler away from him in the first place a long time ago. Han Sen did not know the identity of the woman who looked like a snake. It seemed to be someone from the Ghana race. Old Vulture looked at the snake-like woman and asked with shock, "Huh? Does the Ghana still have a true god elite in their midst? Why have I not heard about such a person before?" The demon lady looked at the woman and quietly said, "In legends, the Ghana Alpha had a twin little sister. When she was young, she was taken by a big beast. I think there is an 80% to 90% chance that it is that person there. If things are really this way, I think there is an 80% to 90% chance that the big beast that took her is Beast King Growler from Empty Mountain. Back then, Empty Mountain Leader was a good friend of Sacred Leader, Old Vulture said. He disappeared after he went to the Geno Hall. I did not expect his bloodline to continue. It is a shame he got stuck in the God Palace. Red Ghost shook his head and said, that Ghana woman and the green-haired beast are the top-class creatures of the universe. But it is crazy that they want to go to Moment God's Hall and save Golden Growler. That is a bad move. While they were talking, the Ghana woman and the green-haired growler entered the proximity of the God Palace. They were going to attack Moment God's God Temple. Little Mountain Leader, we are coming to save you. The green-haired growler roared. His body was brimming with a green light, and he was spitting out a pillar of green light. It was headed for Golden Growler. The green pillar suddenly reached Golden Growler by a distance of about 3 feet away, but the green light pillar could not cross that 3-foot distance. If one was able to fast forward this by 100 times faster, one would have seen the green light pillar go forward. The speed of it trying to go through was so slow that it looked like it was not even moving. As Hansen watched, he was shocked. Golden Growler's body was covered by a lasting time area that was similar to Time Ghost. The time area's power was far stronger than Time Ghost area. With the green-haired beast's powerful power, in that time power, it looked like it had stopped moving. It had not really stopped moving. The green-haired beast's light pillar was fading while it was in that time power. It was extinguished now. There was not even a light left. The Ghana woman's hands clutched a crystal ball. The crystal ball had some red light, but the light was being absorbed by the time power outside of Golden Growler. It was not able to erase the time power inside. Boom, boom, boom. Moment God Temple's door opened. A female god spirit body, which looked very tall and slim, emerged. She was wearing black, tight armor. She looked cold. She did not look human at all. With every step she took, space was like the surface of a rippling lake. It was like there were many vortexes in space. When Hansen saw Moment God, he was shocked. Moment God's face and presence looked exactly like Moment Queen. No, it was more like Moment Queen looked like Moment God. Compared to this, Moment Queen was just like a weaker version of Moment God. The presence and atmosphere were different. What is going on here? Many different ideas coursed through Hansen's heart. Chapter 2967. Fighting in a God Palace. Looking closer, there was something different. But the two of them were very similar. They each had time elements. It made Hansen start to think of something else. Does this mean Qin Xiu got a god spirit? So, does a part of a spirit came from god spirits? Hansen thought. The green-haired beast madly roared. Let Little Mountain Leader go. The green pillar of light came out of its mouth. It was headed for Moment God. The Ghana woman gathered up power. She made a crystal orb of light spread. It became many waves that added to the green light beam. It was like an amplifier. It made the green light beam much bigger. It was like a god light that could destroy the world, headed for Moment God. Moment God's long jade legs stood in front of the God Temple's door. It was like she could not see those scary beams of light. She only coldly looked at the green-haired beast and Ghana woman. The green beam of light came directly before Moment God. It was like a stone falling into a lake. The waves were in front of Moment Goddess. They could not get any closer to her. They could not harm her. One thought in heaven and moments become forever. Moment God looked at the green-haired beast and the Ghana woman. They used all their powers, but they still could not hurt her. After she emotionlessly spoke, she lifted her jade right hand. She reached out her fingers and pressed the air. Moment God's fingers touched space. People were able to see waves spreading. Under the waves, time was like it was frozen. Everything stopped running. The green-haired growler kept his position, spitting out green light. The Ghana woman continued to hold the crystal ball. She was still attacking. Everything stopped. Even the green light beam was like a glass freezing the air. Moment God walked forward. The green beam of light ahead of her was breaking like shattered glass. It was splitting in both ways. It was as if it was forming a path for Moment God to traverse. Seeing Moment God enable the destruction of everything that came in her path, Golden Growler, the green-haired beast, and the Ghana woman were no longer able to move. Han Sun was planning to do as the demon lady suggested. He was going to go to No World God, to take his god personality armament, and save little gold. Seeing the situation as it was, they did not dare slow down. He placed Bauer on the ground. He was going to use galaxy teleportation to reach the god palace he sought. Bauer immediately jumped up. She clutched Han Sen's back and climbed around his neck as she said, "Bauer and father are going to save little gold." Seeing Moment God almost walk in front of Golden Growler and the others, Han Sun did not dare to slow down. He used galaxy teleportation to go in front of the god palace. The god palace had a weird power. Han Sun was unable to teleport directly inside the god palace, so he had no choice but to fly inside. After entering the god palace's area, Han Sun felt his body go dim. It went heavy. It was like some invisible pressure was raining down on him. He felt like the Geno Hall and the God Temple were hell. The place commanded a terrible aura of authority. Seeing that Moment God was going to touch the green-haired beast ahead, Han Sun used galaxy teleportation again. This time, it went smoothly. He arrived in front of Moment God Temple. The Cause Karma knife was burning with the Holy Kirin's holy light. Han Sun slashed toward Moment God. A sky full of confused people saw someone go to the God Palace. They did not know who dared to get killed near Moment God Temple. Anyone was able to tell that the true God-class green-haired beast and Ghana woman did not stand a chance. Even Golden Growler, who had ended up in first place in the God fight list, had been trapped in front of Moment God Temple. To the creatures of the universe, Moment God was invincible. After looking closely, it was very shocking. Godfather Han Sun. Shocked voices were heard all over the universe. Sky Palace leader was playing chess with Isha. When he saw this, his jaw almost hit the floor. That kid, what is he doing there? It is an annihilation class god spirit. Is that something he can even touch? Isha felt weird. That student had surprised her too many times. She had grown numb to his spectacles. What is Godfather Han thinking? Does he really think he is the father of those gods? All of the creatures were talking about it. Han Sun had done a very good job when lighting up the crystallizer lantern. This time, it was a god spirit in front of him. And it was not any ordinary god spirit. Even Golden Growler, who was number 1 on the god fight list, was frozen before it. What was the point in him going? Mr. 9000 King, the demon lady, and the others were all feeling a lot of regrets. They wished to pull Han Sun back, but he was already in the god hall. It was too late to call him back now. They were all heavily injured too. They did not have the power to go to the god palace and back him up. The green-haired beast and Ghana woman were watching Moment Goddess approach, but they were unable to move. They thought they were going to die. Suddenly, white knife air came slashing through the space between them. It slashed onto the waves of time and cut open the wave of time. It was like a volcanic eruption, and it was headed for Moment God. Moment God's eyes looked a bit weird, but it was only for a moment. Her fingers pressed onto the white knife light. Her fingers' power broke the knife light. The knife light exploded into white dots. When the time wave had been slashed open, the green-haired beast and Ghana woman were free once again. Their bodies fell to the floor. They got up and looked around. Thanks for helping. It is you. The green-haired beast and the Ghana woman wanted to say thank you. When they saw the person was Han Sun, their eyes opened wide. Their faces were full of shock. They were surprised and could not believe it. They felt all sorts of complicated emotions. When the green-haired beast took Golden Growler away from Han Sun, he never thought a day like this would come to pass. He was just a crystallizer child. He did not think he would accomplish much. He never imagined he would become deified. Now he had become a true god, and he slashed open Moment God's time god power. That kind of power was not something they could challenge. You do not need to thank me, Han Sun coldly said. I am here for little gold. I will make you pay later. Seeing the green-haired beast be so loyal, and still choosing to go to Moment God Temple, Han Sun did not hate him as much as he thought he would. Golden Growler and Little Flower's situation were a bit different. Golden Growler only accepted the Growler's legacy. Little Flower was in Sacred Leader Qin Xiu's hands. Thus, Han Sun was willing to let the green-haired beast go, but he had to destroy the Holy Palace. There was a difference between them. The green-haired beast loudly shouted. If I was able to save little mountain leader, even if you got us killed, I would not hesitate. It is not that easy. Han Sen's face bore a wry smile. His last strike had exhausted all his power, and Moment God had broken it with one finger. Both of their powers were not on the same level. Han Sen looked at Golden Growler. He was still sealed by the Time God power. The power that trapped Golden Growler was much stronger than the one that went onto the green-haired beast and Ghana woman. Chapter 2968 Times goes back. Han Sen's body flashed. Knife light slashed in front of Golden Growler. He wanted to break the Time God power on Golden Growler and set Golden Growler free. Golden Growler had been trapped there for a while. Moment God hadn't killed it, which meant that Golden Growler had the capital to fight Moment God. If he was able to save Golden Growler, perhaps there was a chance. Even if it was hard to fight Moment God, they could still possibly escape. Moment God looked very cold. She did not have any emotions. The 10 fingers on her hands came together. The very 10 fingers made a weird print and pressed forward. Suddenly, the whole of the God Temple's space underwent strange changes. Han Sen saw the slash that almost hit Golden Growler go back. Things felt as if he was in a video that was rewinding. Time rewind. Han Sen was shocked. It was very scary that she could stop time almost forever. But it was even more threatening to learn that Moment God could actually rewind time. Even if it was only for a moment, it was too scary to try and comprehend. Go! Han Sen coldly shouted. He went backward. He wanted to use his teleportation power to exist Moment God Temple. Moment God had her time rewind power. Even if he risked his life, the likelihood of winning was low. The green-haired beast and Ghana woman knew the situation was terrible. They used all of their power to try and leave Moment God Temple's radius. Moment God's print tied up again. Time rewound again. Han Sen and the others teleported. They all went flying backward. Moment God's body moved. She walked over to Han Sen, who had just come back. Her hand reached out for him. Han Sen was still falling back in the river of time. His body was still going through what he had just done. He was unable to change his movements. His power burst out, but it was useless. He could see Moment God's palm was going to touch his back. Blurg. Han Sen coughed up some blood. His body instantly ripped space. He flew out of the God Palace like an asteroid. He was not stopping either. He hit a planet in the universe and blew up the planet. Dust was everywhere. Creatures from every race were frozen as they watched. Even Godfather Han was unable to beat that enemy. Moment God's scariness was deeply realized within the heads of every living thing. Moment God looked at where Han Sen had flown to. She looked weird. It looked as if she was trying to confirm something. She stared at the planet Han Sen had blown up. The green-haired beast and Ghana woman took advantage of the time when Moment God did nothing. They left Moment God Temple. Moment God did not seem to care about their departure. She stared at the dust in space and ignored them. Han Sen felt as if his entire back was broken. It was too painful for him to move. He held strong against the pain and used his galaxy teleportation to return to Space Garden. He teleported halfway. His body was in too much pain. He fell out of the teleportation in the middle of the jump. Bauer caught him in space. She held him and teleported him the rest of the way. They returned to Space Garden. Bauer put Han Sen down on the bed and asked with a real look of concern, "Dad, are you feeling better?" "Not bad. I am still alive at least." Han Sen used a lot of power to speak. More blood came out of his mouth. "I will go and get Little Silver," Bauer said. She jumped away and eventually brought Little Silver to the side of his bed. Little Silver had very much enjoyed Space Garden's xenogenic genes, and Han Sen had fed it the high-level Thunder xenogenic gene. Furthermore, Golden Growler had given him ancient Thunder God origin, which had greatly accelerated his ability to level up. He was a primitive deified now. The ancient Thunder God origin in particular had helped Little Silver a lot. It made his genes better. Although his attack power was not very strong, his healing power was far greater. "No, it is okay. I am fine. Arg." Han Sen wanted to refuse it, but Little Silver's lightning landed on him. It made Han Sen's brain feel numb as he screamed, "Take off my robe first, Han Sun said while holding in the pain. Bauer quickly held Han Sun up. She took off his blue and black striped robe. When she saw his back underneath the robe, she screamed. The back of the robe had a big hole in it. The hole was shaped like the woman's hand. It was where Moment God had struck him. Han Sun saw the hole of a hand in the robe. It made him develop a wry smile. Fortunately, this robe blocked a little. Otherwise, even if I did not die, I would only have half my life left. Han Sun turned around and laid down on the bed. The spell armor on his back had the print of a hand as well. Fortunately, it did not pierce through him. Even so, Han Sun's backbone had almost been destroyed. It was very hard to cast power across his body. Annihilation class god spirits sure are scary. I couldn't even use a super god spirit body to challenge it. Han Sun wanted to get up, but Little Silver amplified the amount of lightning he was using. Han Sun's body felt very itchy and numb again. He screamed again. Arg! Little Silver's thunder healing was not bad. It helped Han Sun's true god body, but the treatment process was as awful as ever. After Han Sun felt a bit better, he was going to let Little Silver go. Little Silver insisted on fixing him. He kept releasing lightning to electrify Han Senator. It made his legs go soft. It was a shame Little Silver was only primitive class. After he used all of his thunder power, he was still unable to patch up Han Sun's entire body. Okay, I am feeling much better now. Han Sun held his pain in and got out of bed. He looked outside the room and saw Moment God Temple in space. Moment God had returned to her God Temple somehow. One was no longer able to see her. Golden Growler was still trapped in the plaza, in front of the God Temple. It looked like Moment God was not in a rush to kill it. Or, perhaps she was afraid of something, and decided not to kill Golden Growler. Han Sun sighed. As long as Golden Growler was not killed, he had a chance. Han Sun thought, I wonder if that Annihilation Sky God crown with my xenogenic body can save Little Gold from Moment Temple. He did not think his chances were very high. Moment God's time rewind was too scary. Whenever time was reversed, Han Sun was unable to do anything to combat it. Even with powerful power, he could not cast it. Unless I can stay in Super God Spirit mode, I will not be affected by time rewind. Then I can save Little Gold. Han Sun looked at Moment God Temple and Golden Growler. His face kept changing. Chapter 2969 Breaking Point. Old Han, are you okay? Wang Yuhang and the others were looking at Han's Senator. They had been there for a long time. They heard Han Sun screaming for a while, so they had not entered until now. I am fine, Han Sun said. I can at least say that I am alive. Xie King asked. Did you notice that the god spirit that defeated you looked like Moment Queen? Han Sun nodded. I am starting to think the spirits inside the sanctuaries are partially created from the god spirits of god spirits. Xie King's eyes turned bright as he said, I think so too. If that is true, is there a god spirit that looks like me? What? Are you going to have a reunion with him? Wang Yuhang asked with a smile. I am going to beat him, Xie King seriously said. I will not allow another me to exist in this world. If that god spirit is as strong as the one that beat Han Sun, you will be killed. Wang Yuhang was not being very supportive. You can't say that, but it is a shame that I am not a true god, Xie King said while stretching. It is pointless for me to think of achieving that victory anytime soon. After they said that, it reminded Han Sun of something. The creatures in the universe that evolved to that level seemed to be as far as they could take themselves. All of the creatures were only capable of becoming true god and no higher. There was no room for improvement. If one wanted to become stronger, one had to practice all kinds of Geno arts to increase their Geno arts. It was either that, or get their hands on special treasures and god personality armaments. That was the only way to improve one's battle power. Han Sun felt that even though he had changed to xenogenic mode, his pure power was still worse than Moment God. Unless he had the buffs of powerful treasures and a god personality armament, he would be unable to fight her face to face. Han Sun looked at Little Angel who was near him. People say they must be away when they drive the car ahead. When the flowers go dim, you can find the village. Now I do not have the power to level up, and God spirit genes cannot be absorbed. Maybe other people cannot level up, but maybe I stand a chance. Little Angel's face was pretty and calm. When she was not in the battle angel mode, one couldn't tell she was actually very powerful. Little Angel has just become primitive now. If she becomes a true god and combines herself with me, she can probably strengthen my fitness by a considerable amount. With all her tricks involved, it might be what I need to tackle Moment God. Han Sen made his mind up. He was going to help Little Angel become true god. If he was able to get Xie Qing King, Wang Yuhang, Huang Fujing, and others to true god class, that would help as well. That was especially true of Moment Queen. If she reached true god class, that would be of great service. Leveling up to true god class cost a lot of energy, but Han Sen needed to save Golden Growler as soon as possible. Raising one true god would be hard enough. He did not have the time to build a big enough stockpile of resources to get everyone to true god. Resources. 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 I need resources. Space Garden's resources are only sufficient for bringing someone to primitive class. To keep leveling up, we need more resources than what Space Garden can provide. Where can I get more resources? Han Sen kept thinking. If he wanted more resources, he would have to fight for some. Aside from that, there did not seem to be another valid option. Whose resources should I take? The first thing Han Sen thought to plunder were the spoils of the Extreme King's territory. The Very High had a lot of power, and there were a lot of elites there. Going to Outer Sky would not be very easy. The ancient god always saw the dragon heads and never the tails. They did not have many resources stored. Taking ancient god's resources was pointless. As for Sky Palace, it was full of elites. Han Yen was practicing in Sky Palace, and Isha was in Sky Palace. He could not go rob Sky Palace of all of its resources. That was the main reason he let Sky Palace's first seat go. Once again, that leaves the Extreme King. Han Sen kept thinking about it. He pondered deeply about how he should go about it. He did not think he could just kill the Extreme King. The Extreme King had been in operation for many years. There were lots of elites in that race, but they also had countless troves of treasure. Even if Han Sen used his Holy Kirin, and was not afraid of fighting them one-on-one, he was not strong enough to fight the entire Extreme King race. While Han Sen wondered about how he should start stealing resources from the Extreme King, he saw the God Palace be approached by a scary creature in space. The God Temple the creature went to was at the bottom of the God Palace. It was like the Thunder God that was eaten by Ghost Car. It was just a destroyed class God spirit. Even so, it was difficult to determine if the scary creature could defeat the God spirit. In the end, it did not manage to kill it. It was almost killed by the God spirit. When it broke its legs, it made a hurried departure from the God Temple. While Wang Yuhang and the others dispersed, Han Sen took Ancient Abyss Grandmaster out of Destiny's Tower and locked him up in Purgatory Heaven that Zero managed. In Purgatory Heaven, Han Sen looked at Ancient Abyss Grandmaster and asked, "Grandmaster, can you answer a few questions?" Ancient Abyss Grandmaster was like an old monk meditating. After a while, he opened his eyes and coldly replied, "What difference does it make if I give you answers or not? If your answers satisfy me, perhaps I will let you live," Han Sen said. Ancient Abyss Grandmaster shook his head. "I know a lot of your secrets now. If I were you, I would not let you live at all. Grandmaster is very smart. I won't let you leave, but I can have you live here temporarily, right?" Han Sen laughed and said, "With Grandmaster's tricks, perhaps one day you will find a way to escape." "You are right. If I live, there might be a chance of that happening." Ancient Abyss Grandmaster seemed to be very accepting of this. He raised his head and said, "One question for a 10-year extension of my life." "Sure, but you need to answer at least 10 of my questions," Han Sen said. "If you cannot answer the question, the deal is void." "Fine," Ancient Abyss Grandmaster quickly answered. After thinking for a moment, Han Sen asked, "What do you know about the 9 Defense Palace?" "Do you mean about the spirits?" Ancient Abyss Grandmaster coldly replied. "Yes," Han Sen was delighted. He did not expect Ancient Abyss Grandmaster to know about the spirits there. Ancient Abyss Grandmaster was silent a moment before saying, "I actually don't know much. I only know that when Sacred was destroyed, Mr. Alpha obtained Sacred Leader's research. A part of it was about spirits. There was, of course, Nine Defense Palace. The matters about Nine Defense Palace are articles of knowledge. Only the king and future kings are eligible to learn. I only know a little. I only know that Mr. Alpha wanted to use spirits to create a powerful weapon. It would have likely been a holy spirit similar to the Holy Kirin. Did it pan out? Hansen asked. Ancient Abyss looked at Hansen and asked, "Is that your second question?" "Yeah," Hansen answered. "I think so," Ancient Abyss Grandmaster said. "The king had a treasure that lasted a long time, but no others have seen it. Everyone who saw that treasure is now dead. In the history of the Extreme King, a few disasters were corrected solely by the existence of that treasure. I think that it was a weapon the Extreme King used spirits to create." Chapter 2970 Light Well Hansen emerged from Purgatory Heaven 30 minutes later. He returned control of Purgatory Heaven to 0. The Extreme King really is not simple. I cannot go to King's Kingdom yet, but it will not be hard to harvest the Extreme King's resources first. Hansen rested in Space Garden for a few days. While he relaxed, he investigated the resources Extreme King possessed. Extreme King's Kingdom had the most booty to plunder. Aside from Extreme King's Kingdom, there were many other locations he could think about taking resources from too. Hansen kept looking and picked a place that was more suitable for Little Angel. There was a xenogenic space called Light Well. In that xenogenic space, many wells had light energies in them. The energy holes had deified xenogenic plants inside them, which were called Light Well lotuses. The legends claimed that the Extreme King had been growing those Light Well lotuses. It was unknown how many years it had been, but there must have been a lot of Light Well lotuses. Because the Light Well lotuses did not initially belong to the Extreme King, and it was the Extreme King that destroyed another race to claim them. What happened with the Light Wells was something many people knew about. After the Extreme King took over, they blocked that place. They stationed many soldiers there to guard it. Supposedly, there was one extremely strong deified elite sitting there, so ordinary races did not dare do anything to the Light Well. Hansen did not care about that too much. He was going to attack the Light Well. While Hansen was resting, he saw the universe's true god creatures challenge the god spirits. Most of them failed. There were only 3 combatants that had proved successful in their bouts. One of them was Ghost Car. Out of the 3 of them, only one chose to replace the god flag and god spirit's position to become a new god spirit. They had only challenged a destruction class god spirit. Moment God was an annihilation class god spirit, so nobody dared to challenge her. Although annihilation class god spirits were stronger, even disaster class god spirits were not something other people or creatures wanted to challenge. The Extreme King's army that guarded the Light Well was always the same. They were in a space fortress scanning the space around to prevent an intrusion or possible invasion. After all those years, no xenogeniac had dared attempt an invasion. In their hearts, they were no longer on constant alert. A worker who was in charge of observation said, "Ha! It looks like something has reached the entrance of the Light Well." "Are you joking? Can something reach the Light Well's entrance? Do you think our Extreme King Space Fortress satellite and battleships are broken?" Another worker laughed and looked disdained. They were the last defense of the Light Well. The defensive line in front had no movement. They did not think anything had reached where the worker claimed. "There really is something. Huh. It is wearing black armor. Hang on. That is $. After the worker enlarged the camera's video feed, he saw a person standing at the entrance of the Light Well. After he saw him clearly, he screamed, "$? What $?" His co-worker was confused and could not react. The worker earlier immediately replied, "What other $? Could it be?" He was inside the godless fight. Golden Growler gave $. the first place position. All the workers looked at the videotape. They saw a man wearing armor. He was standing at the entrance of the Light Well. Before they could see things clearly, the person had already punched the entrance to the fortress of the Light Well. He broke open the entire fortress, revealing the inside of the Light Well. Hansen scanned the Light Well. He saw that in the large place in space, there were no stars. He was able to see an asteroid of an inverted cone shape. It was hanging in space. Upon making that discovery, he noticed that this asteroid was much larger than the average planet. There was a circular hole in the asteroid's platform. Inside the hole, there was a lot of light. It was like a spotlight had been switched on. In some energy hole, there were light well lotus flowers that were 30,000 feet long. Under the shining light of the hole, it looked crystallized. It was like a crystal flower from some dream. The light well had a lot of energy in it. Since it was like a well, it was hard to calculate how much. Most of the lights were very dim and colorless. It looked like all the energy had been used. Only a small amount of the light well was bright. Only that small part of the energy still had light well lotus flowers. There was a giant energy well that looked like a sky hole in the center of the light well. After looking inside, he saw there was a light well lotus. It was the size of a space fortress. Han's son felt an extreme and scary life force stemming from the light well lotus. He felt happy. True God-class plant xenogeneics. Hansen thought it would be great if he could get some transmutation or larvae light well lotuses. He did not expect there to be a big guy there that was true God class. Who dares come to the light well? An old voice asked. It was coming from the light well. Hansen turned around. He saw an extreme king elder sitting on a lotus platform on the light well lotus. His whole body was doused in the lotus light. Half of him was just light. He did not seem real. Do you not know me? Hansen was surprised by the fact the old man in the lotus did not recognize who he was. Not many people in the extreme king did not know who he was by now. Why would I know who you are? The old man coldly asked. It does not matter if you know me or not. You just need to know that the light well belongs to me. After speaking, Hansen summoned his Sky Vince Radish God Lance. A God personality armament. The extreme king old man's face changed, but he did not emerge from the giant lotus well. He reached out his hand and picked up a giant green metal umbrella. The green metal umbrella's light protected the whole lotus flower. Hansen did not mind that. He thrust the lance at the extreme king elder. Not even a top-class true god xenogeneic was able to block Hansen's power with the Sky Radish God Lance. The extreme king elder did not dodge or flash away. He forced the green metal umbrella to block the light. Dong! Under Hansen's lance, the green metal umbrella's light was messed up, but it was unable to pierce through the metal umbrella. The giant light well lotus below shivered and shook. It looked a little bit dimmer. Hansen suddenly frowned. He stared at the metal umbrella the old man was holding and the giant light well lotus. It was like he had noticed something. The elder coldly said, "My process umbrella is already a part of this light well lotus. If you are forced to break the process umbrella, the light well lotus will be destroyed with it. I advise you to take the light well lotus and leave. Otherwise, you aren't getting anything out of it." 2971 Well Lotus Hansen understood that the old extreme king did not know what sort of trick he had just used. He was able to borrow the light well lotus power and use it on the green metal umbrella. If Hansen attacked the extreme king old man, the power he used would only harm the well light lotus. If Hansen wanted the well light lotus, he could not kill the extreme king old man. You have a good plan. Hansen squinted his eyes and looked at the extreme king old man. There are many primitive light well lotuses, the extreme king old man said with a laugh. Consider them as a gift from me. The extreme king will still have nothing to do with you. Isn't that perfect? What he said was kind of soft and hard. It also made sense. If he was an ordinary person who could not get the true god class light well lotus, he would not make things any worse by offending the extreme king. But Hansen was very determined to get the true god class light well lotus. He was not going to leave now. Hansen did not speak. He looked at the primitive class light well lotuses around and waved his lance. He broke the light well lotus. Deified xenogeneic hunted. Light well lotus. Deified xenogeneic gene found. All the light well lotuses were cut by Han Senator. Many announcements played in his head. Hansen collected the light well lotuses he cut down and threw them into his destiny's tower. Deified xenogeneic hunted. Light well lotus. Deified xenogeneic gene found. Deified beast soul obtained. After killing 100 light well lotuses, he finally received the beast soul announcement. He looked into his sea of soul. Deified Beast Soul Light Well Lotus. By Type incomplete. Han Sun was not in the mood to take a look at what the Light Well Lotus by Sima could do. He continued slashing all the Light Well Lotuses around. He received 213 Light Well Lotuses. Out of them all, he only received one Beast Soul. After he got all the Light Well Lotuses he could, he went back to the giant Light Well Lotus. He looked at the Extreme King Old Man and said, "For by King's sake, if you leave now, I will not kill you." The Extreme King Old Man's expression changed. "You are being such a bully. Are the Extreme King really that easy to bully? Does that mean you are not going to leave?" Han Sun looked at the old man as he spoke. "I am not leaving. What are you going to do to me?" The old man opened the green metal umbrella and coldly laughed. Han Sen's eyes looked weirdly shiny. He stared at the old man's eyes and slowly asked, "Do you think that umbrella will safeguard your life? Maybe I cannot beat you, but if you want to kill me, this lotus will be destroyed," the old man said with certainty. "Really?" One of Han Sen's eyes suddenly released some weird light. His eye turned a blood-red color. In the next second, Han Sun had already gone right through the light of the green metal umbrella. He entered the old man's eye by using the Blood Eye Evil Eye Beast Soul Eye skill. Blurg. Blood was coming out of the Extreme King Old Man's right eye. Even the back of his head had a bloody gaping hole. Han Sun was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance when he reappeared behind the Extreme King Old Man. Green sprouts grew out of the old man's wounds. They kept absorbing the Extreme King Old Man's life force. Arg! The old man held his eye and screamed. He wanted to swing the green metal umbrella he possessed. He had only moved an inch when Han Sen's lance cut off his arm. The old man was terrified. He used his other hand to pick up the one that had been lopped off. He then picked up the green metal umbrella and flew away. He disappeared in the sky at the speed of light. "Go home and tell Bai King I used my life to get this," Han Sun said to the elder as he fled. "I deserve it." Bai King knew that the holy baby was Dollar, and he had almost got the holy baby killed. Han Sun used Dollar's identity to take the Light Well Lotus as a demand for respect. Han Sun wanted the Light Well Lotus, but he did not want the Light Well. Han Sun looked at the giant Light Well Lotus. He used the Sky Vine Radish God Lance to strike its root. With the power of the Sky Vine Radish God Lance, Han Sun slashed it a dozen times to cut it. Deified Xenogeniac hunted. Light Well Lotus. Deified Xenogeniac gene found. Deified Beast Soul obtained. Han Sun was very happy. He did not expect to get another Beast Soul. He had a look inside his Sea of Soul. Deified Beast Soul Light Well Lotus. By Sima Perfect. Seeing the word perfect, Han Sun was made even more thrilled. It was a perfect class Beast Soul. It was equal to a true God class Beast Soul. He still did not know what the Light Well Lotus by Sima was for. Han Sun put the giant Light Well Lotus inside his Destiny's Tower, and summoned the Light Well Lotus by Sima. Surpassing Han Sen's expectations, the Light Well Lotus by Sima Beast Soul was quite different from the by Sima Beast Soul he had before. It was not a by Sima with Han Sen's body for a center. The shadow of a Light Well Lotus was in front of Han Senator, that Light Well Lotus was the center. It opened up a holy light by Sima that was 30,000 feet long. It covered the entire area. Han Sun stood inside the by Sima, but he did not feel his speed or power receive a boost. He did not detect any defensive properties within the Light Well Lotus by Sima either. Seeing the Light Well Lotus's shadow release a holy light, Han Sun jumped. He used the Sky Vine Radish God Lance to cut his finger. He had a deep wound. In the Light Well Lotus by Sima, the wound on Han Sen's finger quickly healed. The damage was instantly reversed. Healing by Sima. Han Sun was delighted by this discovery. A by Sima like that was very rare. And it was a true God class by Sima on top of that. It was very effective. Even though his body could heal fast, the sort of healing power he had now must have been the best throughout the entire universe. Han Sun tried it out a few times. He soon discovered a major problem. The Light Well Lotus by Sima's healing holy light did not concern itself with the differences between friend and foe. It did not matter who it was inside. The by Sima would have graced them with its healing power. Han Sun thought, that means I have to be careful when I make use of this. Otherwise, it may become a shield for the enemy. He took all of the Light Well Lotuses with him, as he departed the light well. The news concerning Dollar attacking the light well spread across the entire universe. The world is messed up. Even the Extreme King were robbed. With the god palaces appearing, it must be a sign of chaos. The universe is not going to be stable anymore. In the Extreme King, Bai King heard what the blind old man had to say and sent him away. He sat alone and said, "I am afraid that kid is not going to stop." After remaining silent for a bit, Bai King summoned an officer. He told the officer, who was a messenger, to deliver a message for him. Wherever Dollar goes, our people cannot stop him. Let him take whatever he wants. The messenger froze for a while after hearing what Bai King said. He could not react. Ever since he had been born, he had not heard the Extreme King issue orders like that. Chapter 2972 Resources delivered. Han Sun was a bit frozen from shock. He had no idea what was going on. He had robbed a lot from many different xenogenic spaces that belonged to the Extreme King. Aside from that old man at the light well who challenged him, no one dared stop him when he reached the other places. They did not stop him, and they were like refugees waiting for the army to help them. They opened the gate and prepared vehicles. They gave Han Sun whatever he wanted. They were afraid Han Sun was not being able to be given enough, like a person not eating enough food, because there wasn't enough to go around. What happened? Did all the people in the Extreme King suffer a brain stroke? Han Sun had a confused expression. He was expecting some strong and hard battles, during which he could kill all the people he wanted to for fun. Now people were very passionate and willing. They were happy to provide him with whatever he requested. They even gave him cars and vehicles. He couldn't kill them after that. He called an Extreme King manager forth and asked him what was going on. The manager politely said, "According to Mr. Dollar's question, the answer is that the leader claims you are a VIP for the Extreme King. Just tell us if you need anything. If there is not enough, he can tell the leader. He will have whatever you need to be sent to you from different places." Han Sen's expression was weird. He was thinking, what is wrong with Bai King? Han Sun was not sure if Bai King wanted to hurt him by telling him to go to Starter King's land. Now that he was doing this, it just made Han Sun all the more confused. Is it because Bai King knows that he cannot defeat me? Does he want to avoid his losses by concocting another scheme entirely? Han Sun was not able to think of a valid reason for all of this. After robbing a few more places, Han Sun was no longer having any fun. He was going to use the excuse of avenging Bai King. That way, he had a reason to loot and plunder. Now even Han Sun thought this was all too weird. If I don't take it, then I don't take it. If he gives it to me, why should I not take it? Han Sun made his mind up to keep robbing, but he had already robbed 18 Extreme King xenogenic spaces. He took countless deified xenogenic genes, and the Extreme King did not show a single speck of resistance. They provided Han Sun with everything, and he felt good about it. Ultimately, it was too much for Han Sun to rob. He made a few calculations. The resources he had were enough to support Little Angel in becoming Butterfly class. The resources required to become True God class were not things one could find in any xenogenic space. Even if Han Sun wanted to collect more, aside from King's Kingdom, there were not many places like the Light Well that had True God class resources. Never mind. Let me take Little Angel back and check it out. If it is not enough, we can always come back for more. Although Han Sun thought that, if he was going to have to take more, it was not something he fancied doing. Han Sun took a lot of resources back to Space Garden. He asked Qin Xian to bring people to make genofluids in secret. Those resources had to be hidden. Otherwise, people would have easily figured out he was Dollar. Thus, Han Sun did not allow the flower god people to help him compose the genofluid. The flower gods were now under Han Sen's complete control. The technology for all sorts of genofluids was owned by Han Senator. He told the humans, spirits, and creatures that came from the sanctuaries to help Qin Xian. Regarding the flower gods, Han Sun did not treat them poorly. The resources in Space Garden were all handled by them. They also kept a cut of the genofluids they created. Little Angel had many genofluids, so it accelerated her development. She quickly evolved. In less than 2 months she was Butterfly class. Ordinary creatures that evolved that quickly would not understand their newfound abilities. It was common for power and level not to match. Then they fought. They couldn't use their true fighting power. Little Angel's situation was different. Han's son did not need her to fight. He just needed her to combine with him. So it did not matter if she didn't understand anything. The leftover resources contained the true God-class light well lotus and 2 butterfly xenogenic genes. It was going to take a while to refine them. Even if she ate them all, Little Angel would not become a true god. Where else should I go to get resources? Should I rob the Extreme King again? Hansen thought. Wang Yuhang approached Han's son and said, Old Han, outside Space Garden. There is an old man that keeps complaining nonstop. He wants to see you. Han's son looked outside. He saw 9000 King outside of Space Garden. He exited Space Garden and asked 9000 King. 9000 King. What are you doing here? Mister, I have finally found you. 9000 King quickly bowed and told him everything. After Han's son left the Big Baron system and was hurt by Moment God, 9000 King, the Demon Lady, and the others had been looking for him. Unfortunately, they had been unable to find the injured Han Senator. 9000 King heard Han Sen's roost was inside Space Garden, which was why he was there looking for him. Why are you looking for me? Han's son hesitantly asked. You were chosen by Sacred Leader, 9000 King said with certainty. It is only natural for them to want to treat you nicely. Didn't Sacred Leader tell them to go wherever they wanted to? He did not command them to follow me. Han's son frowned. 9000 King immediately laughed. You were chosen by the leader, and Little Master has a holy body. He is their master. If they do not follow you, who are they going to follow? They are resting in sacred. They are waiting for Little Master to return home, and they will bring Little Master with them to follow you. Before Han's son sent people to look for Little Flower in the sanctuaries, no news about him had been heard. If they said they were going to bring Little Flower, Han's son did not say anything. He let 9000 King rest in Space Garden. I still need to go and send a message to the Demon Lady and the others, so they do not need to worry any longer, 9000 King said. They also have some savings in the Holy Palace. They want to give it all to you. I will handle the transportation of the goods on your behalf. Oh, I thought their treasures and God personality armaments were destroyed in the fights, Han's son said. What else do they own? They have xenogenic materials they received for killing xenogenics in the Big Baron system. But they are not great for making treasures, 9000 King explained. So they are materials that cannot be used for making treasures. They plan on giving it all to you. If you cannot use it, then Little Master can use them. Han's son had a lack of resources now, so he did not mind receiving more resources. He thought about it and followed 9000 King back to the Big Baron systems, so Little Angel could become a true god soon. As for Little Flower, with Han's son being there, he would obtain more resources. There were more and more elites challenging the god spirits. Many god spirits had been killed, and there were many god personality armaments. Many scary creatures that were not on the god list fights were going to tackle the god palaces. They wanted to put their flags down and become gods, or just kill god spirits to obtain god personality armaments. But they only challenged the destruction class god spirits. No one dared to challenge the god spirits of a higher level. Han's son planned to kill some god spirits too. He wanted to claim their god personality armaments and save Golden Growler. He saw Golden Growler become weaker every day. He was in a rush to save him. Han's son did not really care about evolving, putting his flag down, and becoming a god. Being a god spirit meant one was immortal, but one could always be replaced. Even if one did not get replaced, one would have to guard the god temple forever. That was like being in jail for eternity. Chapter 2973 Blue Blood Myth. Before Han's son followed 9000 King to leave Space Garden, someone else came to visit. The person who came to Space Garden was God's Retribution. Han's son was shocked. He did not know why God's Retribution had come there. When God's Retribution saw Han's son, he checked him out with a look of surprise. It made Han's son's heart skip. He asked, "What are you looking at? You got hit by Moment God, who is an annihilation god spirit, yet you are fine. God's retribution said with a smile. It seems Godfather Han lives up to his title. What Han Godfather? Stop laughing at me. I have only just recovered from that wound. Han Sen paused and looked at God's retribution before saying, You are a very busy person. You won't go to the free treasure palace. So what are you looking at me for exactly? I want to come here and chill with you. Unfortunately, time is against me. After I left the sanctuaries, all I have done is practice, practice, and practice. I do not even have the time to close my eyes. I have barely become primitive class. Yet you are already true God. You are making people jealous and envious. God's retribution sighed and went on to say, This time, I have come here on behalf of the Legion's orders. We need you to come and see Blood Legion. The Legion's leader says he wants to see you. Which leader of Blood Legion are you talking about? Han Sen frowned. He remembered Blood Legion's leader was Mr. Li, who was trapped inside a coffin in the sanctuaries. It is not the one you are thinking of. The leader is the creator of Blood Legion. He is the first leader. You can call him Human King. God's retribution's answer made Han Sen's body shiver. Han Sen wanted to ask for some details, but God's retribution said he did not know much. He said if he had any questions, he could go and ask the Legion leader directly. Han Sen thought about it and decided to go to Blood Legion. He had many questions about Blood Legion that he wanted answers to. Back when Han Jinji was taken away by Blood Legion, Han Sen did not know what he did or what the legend was. He also did not know why Lu Lai was a real human of Blood Legion. He also had a few questions about the Blood Pulse Sutra. It was also possible that Blood Legion's leader, who was called Human King, could give him the answers he sought. So, Han Sen allowed 9,000 King to return to the Big Baron system alone, while he went ahead to see Blood Legion alongside God's retribution. Han Sen did not trust Blood Legion, because Blood Legion's people had blue blood. They were different from humans. Blood Legion had been in the universe for many years. Despite that, they had never lifted a finger to help humanity. Those 2 points alone were enough to make Han Sen feel unsafe around Blood Legion. Even though Blood Legion's leader was called Human King, he was still worried. Although Han Sen thought of that, he still had to go. God's retribution took Han Sen to a weird ship. Inside the ship, Han Sen's Dongxian area could not be used. That made Han Sen frown. God's retribution seemed to know Han Sen worried a lot. He said, All these years in Blood Legion, we have been chased by a particular god spirit. So we have to be prepared. The design of this ship is not against you. It is because we do not want to be tracked by the god spirit. Why would a god spirit want to kill the people of Blood Legion? Han Sen asked. It is all we are humans, God's retribution said. It was an honest answer, but it was an answer that made Han Sen more suspicious. I am a human too. There are also many humans in Space Garden. Why has the god spirit not come to trouble us? Han Sen took this seriously. God's retribution was silent a moment before saying, I am not sure about why that is. Someone asked me the same question, but I was never sure of what to tell them. So, I just have to guess that it has something to do with the blue blood. Blue blood, Han Sen said to himself. All of the key questions led back to the beginning. Blood Legion's members had blue blood, and the blue blood came from the human genes. This blue blood gene power was only activated after several generations practiced Blood Pulse Sutra. Han Sen was the first generation of humans to study the Blood Pulse Sutra, so he did not have the blue blood. Even Little Flower and Little Linger, who were the second generation, did not have blue blood. So, blue blood did not come about even in the second generation. It took many generations of humans practicing Blood Pulse Sutra for their blood to start becoming blue. Han Sen practiced the Blood Pulse Sutra, but he could never sense the Blood Pulse Sutra giving any sort of blue blood power. It just made his genes and genetic qualities better. Before that, Han Sen had many guesses. According to the theories he came up with, the human body should have had a hidden blue gene. The chance of it being activated with the genes of a human was more than slim. It was so small that it could not affect the bodies of humans. That was why one needed Blood Pulse Sutra for several generations. It was to fulfill and pump that blue blood gene. That way, the blue blood gene was able to become the main part of a human's genes. If Han Sen guessed all of this correctly, The blue blood genes did not come from the crystallizers, because the crystallizers did not have blue blood men. They were just like humans with red blood. There was more evidence to support the fact that crystallizers did not have blue blood genes. God's retribution and his fellows were not like ordinary human beings and could not absorb the genes of creatures. The members who had blue blood would have to evolve by themselves. They were not able to combine their genes with the genes of any other creature. It worked like that in the sanctuaries, so it had to be the same in the big universe as well. God's retribution said he was now equal to a primitive deified. He did not say he was exactly though. No matter if a blue blood man was in the sanctuaries or the big universe, they were a very unique sort of people. They kind of existed outside the rules, but they had big connections to ordinary humans. That was something that flummoxed Han's senator. The crystallizers were different. They were standard universal creatures. They were the same as humans in the sanctuaries. They followed the rules of the big universe to grow up. That was different from the blue blood men. So there was no way the blue blood genes came from the crystallizers. Hansen thought. Stay Up Late said that humans were the results of crystallizers using their genes to combine with the genes of other creatures. The blue blood genes had to come from that creature. But what was that creature? One thing Hansen knew for sure was that the progress of the Blood Pulse Sutra was progress for making blue blood genes take over the genes of humans. Hansen did not know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. He also did not know what sort of creature that was. The reason Hansen knew Blood Pulse Sutra was very strong was that it could make the next generation, and the generation after that stronger. He did not let his family practice the Blood Pulse Sutra. Not even Little Flower and Linger. The ship left slip space and flew into a barren system. There were many stars, and there was a giant red dwarf. 2974 You'll never know. Hansen finally saw Human King. The Human King before him was almost like a statue. He was an elegant middle-aged man. His youthful face made him look like he was 20 years old, but his presence made it clear that he was older. After entering the Red Dwarf, Hansen had seen many Blood Legion members. They were like God's retribution. They did not have a level that other creatures of the universe were determined by. But Hansen did not believe any of them were weak. In fact, Hansen had been so shocked on his way there. Aside from the Extreme King, Sky Palace, the Very High, and the other high races, he did not think any other race of the universe could be as strong as Blood Legion. Hansen was unable to tell what level they were, but he felt a dangerous presence surrounding each individual. You are finally here, my child. Human King sat on the throne. He placed his jaw in his hands and looked at Hansen with interest. Hansen thought that sounded weird, to say the least, but Human King was the alpha human. He suspected that calling him his child was normal behavior. Even still, Hansen thought it was rather odd. You should just call me Hansen, Hansen thought. Even if you are Human King, you cannot produce a race. There must be another human alpha. Perhaps you and I are related. Human King seemed to see through what Hansen was thinking. Human King's lips curved slightly. He gently said, in the beginning, crystallizers used their genes as blueprints to combine with the genes of other creatures. Many creatures were created this way. Humans were one such product. Back then, they created 13 humans, and I was one of them. I was one of 13 alpha humans. Including me, there were 3 men and 10 women. As far as I know, the other 2 men did not make it. They could not produce children. Human King laughed out loud and asked, so, do I have what it takes to call you a child? Hansen did not answer the question. He instead asked, why do you want to see me? Hansen could not deny that Human King might have truly been his ancestor. But Hansen was now holding the fate of many lives back in Space Garden. He also did not know what Human King wanted. Hansen wouldn't risk Space Garden and the fates of others just because he was an ancestor. He had to figure things out before he committed to anything. Human King still looked at Hansen with interest. It was like he was observing a new toy. After a while, Human King said, you practice Life Door. Yes. Why accept Blood Pulse Sutra if there is Life Door? Hansen was always confused about that. After he practiced Life Door, he only knew it would boon his Blood Pulse Sutra. He never knew what it did. Blood Pulse Sutra and Life Door were created by me. The difference is that Blood Pulse Sutra is what I experienced, and Life Door contains my thoughts. They are failed imaginations. So in Blood Legion, no one else has opened their life door. Up until now, only you and I have ever opened their life door. What? Han Sun was shocked. His eyes opened wide as he looked at Human King. He never thought he would receive such an answer. Human King seemed to be satisfied with Han Sen's reaction. He laughed and went on to say, "You should feel it. Your Blood Pulse Sutra is different from the Blood Pulse Sutra, known by God's retribution. You have many powers that God's retribution and the others do not have. It is as if your genes are stronger. Your Blood Pulse Sutra can aid other creatures in evolving. It is no wonder why I felt my Blood Pulse Sutra was different from God's retribution," Han Sun said with a nod. He had guessed it was something like this before. So this was the confirmation he had always sought. Even so, Han Sun was still confused. He looked at Human King and asked, "If Life Door is that powerful, why do you claim it is a failure? Why do you not let other Blood Legion members practice it?" Human King did not answer Han Sun's question. He looked like he was smiling, but he was not smiling. He looked at Han Sun and asked, "You have practiced for a long time. You must know how Blood Pulse Sutra works, yes? Why don't you tell me?" Han Sun did not know why he asked that, but he still said, "If I had to wager a guess, the Blood Pulse Sutra is for extracting some kind of gene from the human body." Upon hearing this, Human King nodded. "Yes, I created the Blood Pulse Sutra, so that humans could return to being what they originally were. I wanted to purify their blood for pure humans again. Life Door's genes are not pure. They will give all the genes priority that goes against what I want. Thus to me Life Door is a failure." Han Sun now understood that Life Door was not really a failure. It was just because it was not what Human King wanted. That was why he claimed it was a failure. "Are saying the origin is the blue blood gene?" Han Sun asked. "Why are humans with blue blood genes considered real humans?" Human King looked at Han Sun and coldly answered, "Humanity is a race created by the crystallizers combining their genes with that of another creature. If you were able to guess the usage of Blood Pulse Sutra, you should know why the blue blood genes result in true humans. Are you saying that human genes are the result of crystallizer genes and blue blood people's genes? What race are the blue blood people?" Han Sun's heart quickly jumped. He really wanted to know the answer. "You managed to claim Qin Shio's Holy Spirit, yet you didn't know Qin Shio's blood was blue." Human King squinted his eyes as he looked at Han Sr. "What?" Han Sun screamed, "Are you saying humans are the byproduct of crystallizer genes being mixed with sacred leader Qin Shio's genes?" Han Sun suddenly understood a lot more. He understood why the God Spirit picked on humans. It also explained why God said those with blue blood were real humans. It was all because of sacred leader Qin Shio. Apparently, Human King loved to see Han Sun keep losing his mind. He laughed and said, "Back then, sacred was destroyed during the God fights. Qin Shio battled a sky full of God spirits, but he was ultimately defeated. Crystallizers were fortunate enough to claim one drop of his blood when Qin Shio blew up. They researched it. When they retreated into the sanctuaries, they combined that blood with the genes of their own crystallizers. They produced 13 humans." After pausing, Human King went on to say, "But the crystallizers' genes were weak, and Qin Shio's genes were not studied enough. The genes of a human were only a small part of it. I created the Blood Pulse Sutra, so we could activate, develop, and recover that missing gene so that human genes could lean more toward Qin Shio." After saying that, Human King sighed. "I never expected what I wanted to do would fail. And it happened when it was not meant to be. The Life Door I believed to have failed helped you create Little Flower. He has a body like Qin Shio, but he does not have blue blood. You'll never know." Chapter 2975 Better Than True God. "Do you know Little Flower?" Han Sun frowned and looked at Human King. Little Flower was taken by Old Cat a long time ago. He had been trapped in sacred. Aside from showing up in the Geno being scroll fight, no one else had seen him. Yet Human King knew about Little Flower, and he knew a lot about him. Nine Life Cat represented Blood Legion, and was a mascot for them. It made Han Sen start to think of many things. Human King weirdly looked at Hans and asked, "Do you want to know about the relationship between me and Old Cat?" Han Sen nodded but did not say anything. Human King laughed to himself. "To be honest with you, I am just like you. We are the failures that were abandoned by Old Cat." "I do not understand what you mean," Han Sen said. "Old Cat was the guardian of the sanctuaries," Human King coldly said. "Without his help, do you think the crystallizers would have been able to hide in the sanctuaries for good? I even wondered that. With the crystallizers sharing Qin Xiu's blood and escaping to the sanctuaries to do all kinds of research, everything that happened involved Old Cat and Qin Xiu. Perhaps it was Qin Xiu who was trying to find his heir." After that, Human King looked at Han Senator. He went on to say, "You and I are the failures Old Cat has been watching over the years. He gave up. Only your son Little Flower was approved by Old Cat. He became Qin Xiu's heir." Han Sen now understood what Human King meant. Simply said, Human King was just like him. They had Old Cat's help and attention, but they were not selected by him. Human King squinted his eyes as he peered at Han Senator. It looked like he was smiling, but he was not smiling. You should not think that being an ancestor of Qin Xiu is a good thing. It is actually the opposite. If Qin Xiu dared to choose my son as an ancestor, I would do all in my power to rip him apart and destroy all that remained of his petty factions. What Human King said was something Han Sen was in total agreement with, but he still wanted to know why Human King felt that way. Therefore he asked, "Why?" "He took my son and sent my son to die," Human King coldly said. "That is enough of a reason for me to kill his entire family 10,000 times over." "Are you saying Qin Xiu's plan would not work?" Han Sen quietly asked. He understood what that meant. If he succeeded, Sacred would not be what it is today. Human King looked at Han Sr. "Don't you have the Holy Spirit of that Kirin Qin Xiu made? What do you think of that Kirin's Holy Spirit power?" "It is very strong," Han Sen said. "Really?" Human King's smile grew deeper. "You should use that Holy Kirin spirit that you said is very strong to strike me as hard as you can. I want to see how strong Qin Xiu's stuff is." "Sure, if you don't mind that." Han Sen pulled out his cause karma knife and summoned the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit on it. The Kirin's Holy Spirit possessed a blade. It was possible for it to be anything, as long as it was a weapon. Han Sen wanted to know how strong Human King was, so he was not going to deny Human King's request. He also knew Human King had suggested this as a way for him to gauge Han Sen's strength, so there was no use denying him. Han Sen looked at Human King. The holy light on the blade was strong. It was like a demon flame that flickered. Human King was still sitting on the throne. He observed Han Sen and his knife with interest. "I am so sorry." Han Sen slashed Human King like mad. The knife light was like some laser that could split a world. It came right before Human King. Ding! Human King did not move. Even his face remained the same. He continued to sit where he was. Somehow, his hand appeared beneath the knife. His middle finger and index finger captured Han Sen's cause karma knife. That scary knife light was immediately broken by his very powerful fingers. Han Sen's expression changed. Although he had not used all of his strength with that slash, it was still at about 70%. Despite that, the Holy Kirin's scary power was able to kill a top-class true god Xenogeniac. It could not, however, beat Human King's 2 fingers. Human King let his fingers go and looked at Han Sr. "You are being too polite. If it was me, I would strike as hard as I could." Before Han Sen was able to say anything, Human King asked, "What do you think of my power?" "It's very strong." Han Sen used only those words to describe it, because he could not yet gauge just how strong he was. "My power is still not as strong as Qin Xiu. Considering the thing Qin Xiu wanted to do back then, do you think this Holy Spirit, which Qin Xiu himself did not know if it was a success or not, was something he could do?" In the end, the heir he selected was just a test. They were lab rats whose sole purpose was for testing. Human King spoke with a look of disdain. "Hang on. Why is your power?" Han Sen felt Human King's power was better than most people at True God class. He felt as if he was no weaker than Moment God. "Why are my powers stronger than a true god?" Human King laughed and looked at Han Sr. "You should know the answer." Because Qin Xiu had blue blood genes. For humans to be better than a sky full of races, you need what it takes to battle God spirits. If you are willing to, I can make you a member of the Blue Bloods. For you, it means you can become stronger. You would be much stronger than you are now. You might end up as strong as Qin Xiu was back then. Han Sen did not speak. He silently rejected Human King's offer. That offer seemed tempting, but there were many things he wished to figure out first. If blue blood genes were that powerful, Qin Xiu would not lose. Thinking about that from a different perspective, if Qin Xiu thought his blood could overcome God's spirits, why did he not seek to continue his bloodline? Even if he could not make babies, with Sacred's technology, they could copy the genes of Qin Xiu. That would not have been difficult to do. Yet, Qin Xiu had not done that, and there had to be a reason for it. Telling me all these secrets cannot be the sole purpose for seeking me out. What do you want me to do for you? Han Sen still had not figured out why Human King had called him there. You do not have to do anything for me, Human King coldly said. You are human. Your sons and daughters are humans. So my child, no matter whether you are willing to or not, you and I will be the same. Go against the God spirits, and do whatever you think it is we must do. There is no need for me to request anything. Han Sen still did not understand. Due to the fact Qin Xiu wanted to destroy God palaces and kill God spirits, the God spirits wanted to erase Qin Xiu's bloodline. That logic seemed to make sense. But Han Sen thought there was a problem somewhere. He just couldn't figure out what the problem was. I asked you here to remind you, my child, that you cannot trust Qin Xiu. You cannot rely on the relics of his past. Maintain your crystallizer identity. No matter what happens, tell no one about your true identity. You need to do that to live longer and have more chances. Human King looked serious. Chapter 2976 Sky God Crown. Han Sen had received many answers from Human King. When he left Blood Legion, he still had a few things that had yet to be cleared up. Just as Human King said, he did not ask Han Sen to do anything for him. It seemed as if he was just convincing him not to expose the identity of humans in the universe. Human King also gave him Blood Pulse Sutra's final part. He told him that if he was willing to, all he had to do was practice the final part for his blood to turn into blue blood. Although this method was not as pure as passing it through generations, it would still give Han Sen blue blood power. The price to pay was that Han Sen would lose all the Geno arts he currently had. He would not even be able to make use of beast souls. All he would be able to use was blue blood power. Human King did not force Han Sen to do that. It was a decision that had to be made by Han. Senator Han Sen asked a few questions regarding Han Jinji. Human King said Han Jinji was not a member of Blood Legion. He did not possess blue blood. Aside from that, he did not say anything else concerning him. On his way back, Han Sen kept thinking, Human King told me a lot, but I feel like he was holding back on a lot of important details. He had yet to be given answers to many of the questions he had. Han Sen also thought there was a big problem. He just did not know what it was. What is up with Han Jinji? Human King should not be lying about something like this. But why did the people of the 7th team say Han Jinji had blue blood? What was that all about? Han Sen was very confused about this little nugget of information. He thought his trip to Blood Legion would enable him to receive answers concerning Han Jinji. Now, it seemed as if it was a pointless venture. He still did not know anything about Han Jinji. Human King may have known something, but it was obvious he did not want to spend much time talking about Han Jinji. Han Sen returned to Space Garden. 9000 King had yet to return, but another pair of guests had arrived. The green-haired Growler and Ghana woman arrived at Space Garden. When Han Sen saw them, the green-haired beast did not say anything. It put its head in front of Han Sen and quietly groaned. Sorry I offended you. You can take my life, but please save Little Mountain Leader. Get up, Han Sen said with a wave of his hand. I am going to save Little Gold, but you guys should know my power is not enough to fight Moment God yet. I require more time to prepare what is necessary. If there is something you need, please tell us, the Ghana woman coldly said. If it can save Little Mountain Leader, we will do anything. If you want to save Little Gold from Moment God Temple, We need more than just us. We require more aid. So I need resources to make my friends stronger. If you guys have deified xenogenic genes, can you give them to me? Hansen thought Empty Mountain must have had a lot of good stuff. Perhaps he was able to obtain some resources from them. Empty Mountain has some deified xenogenic genes, the Ghana woman said. I will give them to you later. They were currently unable to ask anyone else for help. Han Sun was the only person they could turn to. At least they knew Han Sun truly wanted to save Golden Growler. That dollar really is bad stuff, the green-haired Growler madly said. Little Mountain Leader gave him the first seat on the god list. Yet when Little Mountain Leader was in trouble, he did not show up. Han Sun gave a wry smile, and thought that dollar did not show up because he was blown up. But what the green-haired Growler said reminded Han Sun that Golden Growler gave dollar the godless first place. If dollar still did not show up, it might make him look bad. Although dollar's race was different from Han Sun, and no one expected him to be Han Sun, it was still wrong. After sending the green-haired Growler and Ghana woman away, Han Sun thought about matters for a while. He eventually decided to challenge the god spirit with dollar's identity. This time, the god spirit Han Sun decided to challenge was not Moment God. It was going to be the disaster class No World God. Han Sun heard the demon lady say that No World God's power could enable him to be immune to time powers for a while. If he was able to get his hands on No World God's god personality armament, it would be a great help for saving Golden Growler. When there was no one around, Han Sun turned into xenogenic mode and equipped himself with his Dongxian armor. He then wore the Sky God crown. The Sky God crown was an Annihilation class god personality armament. It was 2 levels higher than the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. It was a god personality armament that was almost as good as Moment God. Han Sun had never used the Sky God crown before, because he did not know what power it possessed. It was not like it was high level or automatically useful like the Lightwell Lotus Beast Soul. Although it was a high-level beast soul, its power involved healing. In a deathmatch battle, it would not serve much of a purpose. Han Sun thought. Back then, God said the Sky God crown would allow me to enter the Geno Halls freely. Now the Geno Halls are all on display. Does the Sky God crown have any other uses? After thinking for a while, he had decided to wear the Sky God crown. The moment Han Sun put on the Sky God crown, a god-light mist like a rainbow came down. It covered his entire body. From afar, Han Sun looked like a godly rainbow mist. Catcha! Han Sun saw the universe's cogwheels spin. It was like there was a giant mechanical door opening in front of him. This was like the core area or the god area opening. The door did not open solely for Han Senator. It was because of the Sky God crown. Han Sun looked at the space door. He saw a rainbow mist light. Countless substance chains were connected. One was not able to see what it was. After hesitating for a moment, Han Sun walked toward the rainbow mist light that was flowing around the door. After his body completely walked through the door closed. It disappeared back into the nether of space. The weird scene was gone too. This is God Temple. Han Sun frowned and looked at what was in front of him. It was a jade stone God Temple. Beneath Han Sun's feet was a God Temple. He saw Sky Vine Radish God be revived in this temple. He was not wrong about that. This was a God Temple, and he was standing on the altar of the God Temple. Annihilation God Temple opened. Name the God Temple. A voice echoed through the God Temple. A God flag flew toward Han Sr. What is going on? Did I become a God spirit? Han Sun frowned and looked at the empty God flag. The God flag he used to see already had names. This one was empty. There was nothing on the flag. Han Sun did not want to be a God spirit. Even if it was an Annihilation class God spirit, he did not want that. You are finally here. As Han Sun hesitated, the God Temple's door opened. A girl walked in. It was Gu Wanner. Upon hearing her tone of voice, Han Sun knew that it was not Gu Wanner in that body. It was that guy who called himself God. Chapter 2977 God Spirit's Special Authority. Han Sun looked at God and said, You got here at just the right time. Why did I become a God Spirit for just wearing this Sky God crown? God laughed and said, You did not become a God Spirit. Because the sky god crown is here, you temporarily became a god spirit. If you remove the sky god crown, none of that will exist. After hearing that, Han took off the sky god crown and departed the god temple. When he put the sky god crown again, he returned to that god temple. The white god flag appeared in front of him. Is that all this sky god crown does? Han's son was disappointed. To him, becoming a god spirit did not appear to be particularly useful. God sat down on the god altar's edge and casually asked, "Is that still not enough for you? You do not need to do what god spirits do, but you get to enjoy the benefits of a god spirit. Many god spirits would like that." Han Sen's heart jumped as he quickly asked, "What responsibility and benefits do gods have?" "As long as you wear the sky god crown, if the sky god crown is not broken, you will be like other god spirits," God said. "You will have an immortal body inside the god temple. Even if you are killed, you will respawn here in the god temple." Han's son lifted his lips and asked, "What does that mean? I do not want to be stuck inside a god temple forever." Of course it does have meaning. For example, if you are up against a powerful enemy that you cannot beat, you do not need to be afraid of dying when you are in the god temple. You can fight them without fear. God laughed. Hansen shook his head. "That does not make sense. If I were killed by my enemy, he would just take my god flag. Then, I would end up dead. That is the power of sky god crown. Even if someone removes your flag, it will just break your sky god crown. You will still respawn, but you will lose the authority of being a god spirit." God pointed at the sky god crown and went on to say, "Plus, when you're a god spirit, you have the authority of a god spirit. You can trade with any creature in the universe and gain their lifespan." Han's son had always wondered that. The god spirits were immortal existences, so why did they require the years of others? Based on God's method, they used a lot of effort. They would do anything for another creature's lifespan. Han's son did not understand why they did it. To the immortal god spirits, what is the point of extending their lifespan? Han's son pretended to look disdained. "About that, you will understand in the future." God did not answer Hansen's question. He laughed and told Han's son, "As for the responsibilities of gods, it is quite simple. There is only one task, which is to protect the Geno Hall and forbid it from being invaded by other creatures." "Protect the Geno Hall?" Han's son asked with an obvious look of confusion. "Does the Geno Hall require protection? Let's not talk about other things. But that woman inside the Geno Hall is invincible." God shook his head. "The goddess you talk about is one of the 12 Annihilation class god spirits. Those 12 Annihilation class god spirits guard the Geno Hall in sequence. Their responsibility is the same as all the other god spirits though. There is no difference between them." "What about the Geno Hall? Does the Geno Hall have no god spirits?" Hansen quickly asked. God laughed but did not answer. "When you enter the Geno Hall, you will understand. As long as you have the sky god crown, you will earn the benefits of a god spirit minus the responsibility. You can also give up the god spirit identity whenever you please. Are you still not satisfied with this good stuff? Aside from all that, sky god crown has no battle abilities?" Han's son still thought it was useless for him to become a god spirit. God laughed. "Of course. The sky god crown is almost indestructible. Its durability is stronger than most Annihilation class god personality armaments. You can use it like a brick, but the item itself does not have battle power. Okay, you should think of a powerful title now. Once you have a god name, you can really enjoy the powers of being a god." "You said there were only 12 Annihilation god spirits," Han's son said. "If I use the sky god crown, will I count as one of the 12? Will I have to go and guard the Geno Hall?" "You do not need to," God answered with certainty. "Did I not tell you? You are not a real god spirit. You do not take on the responsibilities of god spirits." Hansen knew that God was not a liar, but he was still disappointed. If he could go to the Geno Hall, he would like to see what the interior of that place looked like. Seeing the empty god flag, Hansen thought for a few moments and said, "I will call myself the god of wealth. I love that name, and it goes with my name Dollar." "Huh?" God heard Hansen's god title and laughed. He weirdly looked at Han's son and said, Your God name is very happy. It's not bad and very creative. I know, right? This title is great. Hansen knew that God did not mean it, but he did not mind. The front of the white God flag now had the word wealth on it. The back displayed the words God of. The flag shone with the God light. It flew out of the God hall and stuck to the God temple's door. The moment the God flag went there, the sky God crown on Hansen's head shone brightly. Many mysterious messages emerged from the sky God crown, which made him understand many things. I see it now. Hansen was feeling mysterious messages. He suddenly seemed to really understand what it was like to be a God spirit. He was not clueless anymore. Aside from what God said, the God spirits had other powers. It was better than what Hansen expected. God spirits earned the buffs of a God temple, and the buffs did not merely apply to immortality. There was a God power buff. The higher level the God temple was, the more God power he would receive. Hansen had that annihilation class God temple. It gave Hansen God power buffs. It made his battle power increase another level. That buff only worked in his God temple area. If he left the God temple, the God power buff would be gone. There was also a special God spirit authority. That special authority only belonged to God spirits. Every God spirit had its authority, different God temples, and different God spirit powers and different authorities. Hansen did not know what other powers God spirits had. The God spirit authority he received was called wealth. If any creature paid with their lifespan, Hansen could bless them with some wealth and give them significant wealth for a short amount of time. Of course, God spirit authorities could only be used when that person paid a sum of their years. The scarier thing was that the wealth Hansen gave did not just come out from nowhere. It used the wealth that the person would have in the future. If Hansen gave someone more wealth than he earned in his life, very bad things would happen to that person. Chapter 2978 Fulfill Your Wishes. Hansen thought. Is an annihilation class God spirit's authority just wealth? Those gods used to say they could do anything and fulfill any wish they wanted to. That is such a big scam. According to the God spirit rules, God spirits could not give fake information. If they lied, they would not be able to finalize a trade. They would not receive the lifespans they sought. To compose a trade, God spirits would use everything they could. I really don't understand why they seem to be so keen on seeking out years. Sky God Crown's message had not included that. Therefore, Hansen was unable to find out. That aside, God spirits had the authority to leave the God temples. They were not able to leave the God temples for long. During that period, the God temple was sealed up so they could not be challenged. Unless the God spirits possessed a creature of the universe, they would not be able to leave for a very long time. If they did do that, they would not receive protection from the God temples anymore. If they died, they died. Unless the God personality was taken back to the God temple, they could no longer be respawned. There was still one very important thing. God spirits were allowed to challenge God spirits that were a higher level than them. But that was pointless for Hansen, because he was not a real God spirit. He could not level up his position any higher. Even if he could challenge them, Hansen was already annihilation level. He could only challenge God spirits that were at a higher level than him. Hansen could not fight an enemy that was the same annihilation class as he was. To challenge a reboot class God spirit was a death wish. Hansen would never have tried being so bold. Hansen looked at God and wished to say something, but God winked at him. He looked at the door of the God temple and said, "You have business to attend to." "What do you mean?" Hansen looked at the God temple's door. He did not see anything. He turned around and looked at God, but he was gone. While Hansen was wondering what was going on, he saw someone fly into the God Plaza area. They were flying toward his God temple. Hansen wondered, it cannot be this much of a coincidence. I have only just become a God spirit, and a creature in the universe already wants to challenge me. According to what Hansen had been inspecting, the universe creatures only dared challenging destruction class God spirits. No one dared to challenge disaster class. Why would a creature go and challenge him, who was annihilation class? That body was coming straight for Hansen's God temple. It soon entered the radius of the God temple. The God Palace and God Temples were situated in a realm that was between reality and space. No matter where one was in the universe, if one's mind was in God's palace, one could go there. A creature that was able to fly in the universe could just use an airship to go to a God Palace. It did not matter how far or near one was. Han Sen stared at the body. He was shocked. It was someone he knew. Why is Fox Queen coming here for? Han Sen thought. Fox Queen was the wife of Ghostbone General. As far as Han Sen knew, her power was not very strong when compared to most deifieds. She was not able to fight a destruction-class god spirit. How could she hope to tackle an annihilation-class god spirit? While Han Sen was making guesses, Fox Queen was already in the plaza of the God Temple. By the rules of the god spirits, Han Sen had no choice but to fight. Otherwise, Fox Queen was able to replace his god spirit flag. As long as the sky god crown was not broken, he would not die. Fox Queen came before the God Temple and kneeled, as if she was praying to a god. Mr. God of Wealth, I want to make a wish to you. Please help me. It looks like she is not here to challenge a god spirit. Han Sen was shocked. He said, If you have come for a wish, then come in and speak. Thank you, Mr. Fox Queen entered God Temple. Han Sen's heart jumped. The God Temple's gate closed down, leaving only him and Fox Queen, the two of them inside. Tell me about your wish. I will fulfill your wish. Han Sen stood upon the God altar. He looked at Fox Queen with a very serious look as he spoke. Fox Queen was the wife of Ghostbone General. She must have known all about god spirits. There was an 80% to 90% chance that she knew there was a consequence for the formation of wishes. Han Sen wondered why she had still come there to make a wish. Fox Queen kneeled again. Her fox eyes stared at Han Senator. She spoke very softly. I only have one wish. Please help me get back my Fox Race's race weapon 9-spin destiny mirror. If that can be done, I am willing to do anything. Because the sky god crown had a light above, it made Han Sen look like a god enveloped in rainbow god light. Only his body was visible. One was not able to see his face. Fox Queen was not able to tell that he was Han Senator. That fact made Han Sen feel strange. After Fox Queen made a wish, Sky God Crown sent a message to Han Senator. It said that if he was able to fulfill Fox Queen's wish, he would earn a lifespan of 300. The Sky God Crown showed that if Han Sen finished the wish, he could at least get 300 lifespans. It was not just 300 lifespans. He actually was able to get more than that. It was like if Han Sen picked up the 9-spin destiny mirror and gave it to her. He would only get the lowest amount of lifespans available. If he went and stole it from some scary elite and returned the 9-spin destiny mirror to her, she would pay with a lot more of her years. Aside from that, she would also get karma. She would have to pay the price. Han Sen's god spirit power was just wealth. Fox Queen's wish was not in his power to fulfill. Han Sen had to find a way to finish Fox Queen's wish. If he was unable to finish it, his lifespan would be damaged. Accepting a wish was a double-edged sword. If god spirits accepted the wish, they had to find a way to finish it. If they could not complete it, they would have to scam the wisher to get and keep the lifespan. God spirits employed every dirty trick in the book. Fox Queen's wish was something Han Sen wanted to complete. That was because he had the 9-spin destiny mirror. Han Sen still hesitated. He did not know if the 9-spin destiny mirror was worth the 300 years. To universal creatures, lifespan was very important. Han Sen was not a real god spirit. He was not immortal. Now, Han Sen had a lifespan of 2000. That seemed like a very long time. To many creatures of the universe, it was nothing. Fox Queen was nervous. She had taken a big risk coming to make a wish. There was nothing else she could do. She had to do this. Going to the God Temple to make a wish was a dangerous prospect. If the god did not want her to make a wish, they could simply kill her. She would have been killed. Fortunately, Han Sen had allowed her to enter the God Temple and speak her wish. Her life was safe, but it was unknown whether or not Han Sen could fulfill the wish, or how he would even go about trying. It was certain that it would affect her a lot. If a god spirit finished her very difficult wish, she would have to pay with a lot of her lifespan. She was afraid that her lifespan might get all spent. Han Sen looked at Fox Queen and coldly said, I can fulfill your wish, but I have a condition. Chapter 2979. Forever a slave. Han Sen felt a bit regretful about allowing Fox Queen to enter the God Temple and make a wish. After she made her wish, he was unable to hurt or kick Fox Queen to the curb. He was not allowed to reject the wish. He had to find a way to make her wish come true. Han Sen saw that the 9-spin destiny mirror was only worth 300 years of her lifespan. That was too little for him, so he did not want to make the trade. Fortunately, Han Sen's position as a god was annihilation class. Compared to the destruction class and disaster class, annihilation god spirits had special powers. It was like Han Sen was able to apply more rules that lesser god spirits could not enforce. A destruction class god spirit did not have that power. Of course, destruction class god spirits were able to make the same conditions, but the conditions they enforced would not be protected by the rules of god spirits. Even if the wisher betrayed the rules, the destruction class god spirit could not do anything about it. Upon hearing this, Fox Queen felt her body shake. Although she knew she was going to lose some years of her lifespan, hearing the two conditions made her scared. Based on her knowledge of god spirits, she knew looking for a destruction class god spirit to make a wish would not put on an extra condition. Destruction class god spirits may not have been able to take the 9-spin destiny mirror from Han Senator, even if it was taken back. The price to pay would have been very high. Perhaps her lifespan would be all gone. Fox Queen risked coming there to find an annihilation class god spirit. She hoped such a god spirit would complete the wish with ease, and she would not have to pay up much of her lifespan. High-class god spirits had the power to apply an additional charge. Fox Queen was helpless to control it. If she did not agree to the extra condition, the wish would not be done. It would become a problem. There was a chance she would not leave that place alive. Please tell me, mister. Fox Queen looked at Han Sen with sad eyes. Her face looked very pitiable. It was the sort of look that could make one buckle and comply with whatever she wanted. It made people want to comfort her. By using small tricks against me, do you want to die? Han Sen coldly grunted. His body had god powers. It was like hell. It was like a sea. It was headed for Fox Queen. Fox Queen's body shivered. She immediately kowtowed and said, Please do not be mad. It was my fault. Please forgive how ignorant I am. Seeing Fox Queen quivering beneath the altar, Han Sen felt delighted. Fox Queen used to cause him so much trouble. Now Fox Queen's fate was in his hands. It made him feel incredibly good. It was a shame Han Sen had let her into the temple to make a wish. That kind of offense was enough to cancel the wish transaction. Therefore, Han Sen had no choice but to continue. I can help you get back 9-spin destiny mirror, but you need to be my slave forever. Han Sen was like a lion opening his mouth. He did not want to give her the 9-spin destiny mirror for 300 years of her lifespan. If Fox Queen did not agree to the terms and conditions, the wish would fail. Han Sen would no longer have to give her the 9-spin destiny mirror. If Fox Queen agreed, her life would forever be in Han Sen's hands. She would become a slave and forever be ruled by him. Giving her the 9-spin destiny mirror did not change much. Upon hearing this condition, Fox Queen looked terrible. Her body started to shake. The conditions he made were greater than she thought they would be. It was like taking her life. Mister, can you do that for me because I am so poor? Fox Queen pretended to be destitute as she kneeled. You cannot talk in front of a god. If you don't want it, forget about it. Turn around and go home. Han Sen did not care about her feelings, so he spoke as harshly as he wanted to. Please do not be mad. Fox Queen bowed again. She looked sincere, but her mind was thinking, I just wanted to come and try this god of wealth that I have never heard of before. I did not expect he would compose conditions this gross. But that is good. If he makes a condition like that, he is not going to steal all the years of my lifespan. Perhaps I will not lose much of my lifespan. This is the end of the road. To be held by this annihilation god spirit is safer. If the extreme king wants to kill me, it will be even harder for them. Although she thought of things this way, in her mind, she was a bit annoyed. This is all because of that Han Senator. If it was not for him, I would not have gone to Destiny's Tower. He also took the 9-spin Destiny Mirror, which made me become an enemy of the Extreme King. That Bai Wuchang keeps chasing me. He has forced me into this position, so now I have no choice. She continued to think. This time, the god of wealth will take the 9-spin Destiny Mirror. Han Sun will be doomed, which makes me feel a bit better. Thinking of all this, Fox Queen realized she did not have much of a choice in the matter. If she went to another annihilation god spirit, they might not have even allowed her to make a wish. She bowed and said, I will do whatever you tell me to do. As Fox Queen said that, the sky god crown shone with a god light. Han Sun knew that the deal was made. He only had to give her the 9-spin Destiny Mirror, and 300 years of Fox Queen's lifespan would be his. Fox Queen, I bet you never dreamed of this day. Han Sun was feeling very cocky. He did not give her the 9-spin Destiny Mirror yet. He coldly said, You go home first. Come back to the God Hall in 3 days, and pick up the 9-spin Destiny Mirror. Fox Queen immediately said thank you, but she did not leave just yet. She changed her tone and said to Han Sun, Mister, there is something I know. Perhaps it will help you get the 9-spin Destiny Mirror back. I do not know if I should tell you. Han Sun coldly asked, Oh, why don't you indulge me? Fox Queen was not able to see Han Sun's face, but he did not sound very interested. She quickly said, The 9-spin Destiny Mirror is in that crystallizer Han Sun's hands. From what I know about him, he got the 9-spin Destiny Mirror from Destiny's Tower. He destroyed the god doll inside. Really? Han Sun feigned surprise. In his mind he coldly laughed. Very good, Fox Queen. You are convincing a god spirit to trick me. I will remember this, and I will make you pay. Fox Queen looked at Han Sun, who now seemed interested. She quickly said, That god doll was in the Extreme King for many years. It must have collected a great number of years. Han Sun broke the god doll, so he must have a lot of lifespan in him. Fox Queen stopped talking, but it was so obvious what she was doing. It was like she was saying, Mr. God Spirit, look at Han Sun like he is a big slab of meat. You should go and dine on him. You know a lot about god spirits, Han Sun coldly said as he looked at Fox Queen. Fox Queen was shocked. She lowered her head and said, I have just heard a thing or two. Okay, you go home. Come back and pick up the 9-spin Destiny Mirror in 3 days. Han Sun sent Fox Queen away, but then he was quite angry. Women are the evilest. You better watch out, Fox Queen. I will make you cry for your mommy and daddy. Chapter 29. Moment God after Fox Queen's departure. Han Sun did not think this was right. Why had Fox Queen appeared right then and there? She had not selected any other god spirit. She had just happened to choose him, who had only just appeared in his own god temple. To be able to do tricks in a god palace, it must be that god. Han Sun started to think it must be related to God, who was possessing Gu Wanner. No way, I cannot keep using this god temple. If it keeps opening, perhaps something bad might happen. Han Sun thought about this and put away his sky god crown. He left his god temple. After Han Sun put away the sky god crown, the god of wealth temple shut down. Because there was no god inside the temple, no one could go there and challenge it. What does that god want from me? In the god list's fight, the one in second place was only able to earn a destruction class god personality armament. Even if I was in first place and leveled up one more, I would just receive a disaster class god personality. Is it not too much to give an annihilation class god personality armament to someone? Han Sun was confused. God must have done all of that on purpose. Now that he thought about it, even that God would not have expected Golden Growler to give him the first seat. There was no way he would have expected that. Was that decision made immediately? Han Sun still did not think that was right. Han Sun was not able to come to a conclusion he liked, so he stopped wasting time. He looked at the sky full of god temples, and scanned it for no world god's temple. He wanted to fight no world god first. When Han Sun discovered no world god temple, he noticed no world god's god temple was still shut down. He is not here. That depressed Han Senator, judging from the experience he had as a god spirit. God spirits only had 3 ways to shut down their god temple. Ordinarily, they were only allowed to shut down a god temple for a short period of time. That allotted time was the only time a god spirit could leave the god palaces. They were not able to be gone for a long time. Every time after using that permission to leave, it would be a long time before they were allowed to leave again. The other way was if the god spirit had been slain once. It did not matter if the god spirit was swapped. If the god spirit was willing, they could shut down the god temple for an entire month. Of course, they were not likely to give up that right. The longest time a temple could be shut down was for the duration of time a god spirit possessed a creature of the universe. If they left their god temple like that, their temple could pretty much be closed forever. No one was able to challenge them. One had to wait until the god spirit returned. Then the god spirit's ability to be challenged would be re-enabled. Fox Queen entered the temple and made a wish. Every creature saw that. Although they did not know what happened after Fox Queen exited the temple, it gave people very strange feelings. Many creatures wanted to go to the god temples for the creation of wishes. They had all sorts of wishes to make. The god spirits would not mind those people coming to make their wishes, either unless it was for some special reason. Otherwise, not many god spirits would have killed the wishers. But that was in the future. Hansen did not have time to care that much. After he went silent for a bit, he flew toward a god temple amid the god palaces. No world god was not there. So Hansen selected another god spirit that was disaster class. He wanted to see how strong a disaster class god spirit was. Huh? Is that Dollar? It is him. The universe's god list first elite is challenging a god spirit. What god list first elite? Golden Growler gave that to him. Regardless, Dollar's power is very strong. I wonder what level of god spirit he will challenge. It will most likely be a destruction class one. After all, no creature dares to challenge a disaster class god spirit. No way. He is flying to a higher level of god palaces. Is he going to save Golden Growler? Stop making jokes. Han Godfather and those 2 true gods from Empty Mountain were beaten by Moment God with ease. Dollar would die by going there. It is hard for us to say. Dollar and Golden Growler's relationship is special. Golden Growler gave him the first place. It is only fair that he would try to save him, right? After a while, many creatures watched Hansen fly toward a disaster god palace. Someone said, "There's no way he's going to challenge Moment God. That would be him having a death wish." Golden Growler really is blind. He gave him the god list seat. It is just like Godfather Han. While everyone was talking, Hansen entered the radius of the god temple. He was on the god temple's plaza. It was a very old stone god temple. The god temple looked like a medieval church. The god temple had 2 floors. There was a big stone clock. The minute, hour and second hands were ticking slowly. It was like a normal watch but very large. Moment God. Hansen looked at the god's title on the god flag. He was shocked. Anyone knew that this Moment God could be a time disaster god spirit. Hansen had come to challenge Moment God because he wanted to see how things fared in xenogenic mode. He wanted to see if he could fight a disaster class god spirit, so he could ready himself to fight Moment God in the future. They were both time element god spirits. If he was unable to fight a disaster class god spirit, he could not fight an annihilation class Moment God. A sharp and squeaky voice came from the god temple's stone door. "Heaven has roads we do not walk. Hell has no doors, and you come knocking. Do you have a death wish?" With that sound, the stone door opened up. A shadow emerged from the god temple. Hansen, and the races of the universe's creatures, and people stared at the god spirit that was coming out from the god temple. This was the first time someone had sought to challenge a disaster class god spirit. It was a very eye-catching sight. When that shadow walked out of the stone temple's door, many creatures saw that it was a weird creature. It looked like a human, but its skin was a black carapace. It looked like a human bug. Its eyes were very weird. The eyes had no pupils. They were just white. Within the eye white, there was the illustration of a clock. It included the hands that told the time, and the numbers they went around. Hansen was not about to underestimate this foe. After all, he had never fought a disaster god spirit before. The god spirits he used to kill were all destruction class. He held the sky vine radish god lance and gathered up the power on the tip of the lance. He used the Dongxian Sutra to the max suddenly. The whole universe was a complicated machine in Han Sen's eyes. Countless universes were spinning. Beastie. A lance was thrust forward. It was like space was punctured by that lance. It went in front of Moment God. Moment God coldly smiled. Its left eye was like a watch. The needles rotated quickly. The speed of Han Sen's lance was fast, but Moment God was faster. It went left a little and avoided the attack of the sky vine radish god lance. Han Sen's expression did not change. The lance was like heavy rain striking down, but Moment God moved swiftly. It was like it could just move without thinking. Han Sen's heavy storm-like lance attack did not touch its body. Chapter 2981. Time is like a ruler. Blasphemy to a god spirit should result in death. Moment God coldly looked at Han Sen. The needles in his right eye were turning quickly. It was different from the ones in his left eye. The needles in his right eye were going counterclockwise. As the needles of his right eye spun, in other people's eyes, Han Sen's movements seemed to be slower. It looked like he was moving in slow motion. Moment God's speed wasn't slowing down. He was very fast. One was fast, and the other was slow. It created a clear contrast. Moment God teleported in front of Han Sen. His fingers were very sharp. He was scratching toward Han Sen's face. The fingernails were like the tips of a lance. They were going to pierce Han Sen's eyes. Moment God's face looked very interested as he laughed in an evil way. He slashed downward, but Han Sen's body disappeared in front of him. In the next moment, Han Sen's body appeared near Moment God's back. The Skyvine Radish God lance was thrusting into his opponent's neck. The tip of the lance was right next to him. That's a very powerful teleport skill, but it is futile against me. The needles in Moment God's eyes kept spinning in different directions. Han Sen's speed was constantly slowing down while his opponent's speed grew faster. The tip of the lance almost touched his skin. Moment God established some distance between them. He turned around and threw a punch into Han Sen's belly. Han Sen was like an old man with slow reactions. He saw Moment God's punch, but he could do nothing to dodge. It was also too late for him to put the lance away. Moment God's fist was still too slow. Han Sen's body teleported to the other end of the Moment God Temple Plaza. The man and the god kept fighting. Moment God's power, which could control time, was incredibly weird. Han Sen's ability to teleport was shocking too. Neither of them was able to do anything to each other. Dollar is so strong. He can fight a disaster god spirit without reprieve. He keeps using teleportation skills to move around. Don't say that. Moment God has to be a time element god spirit. He has the power to make Dollar slow down in a web of time. That does not only make him slow down, but his powers and mind also slow down. If it was a normal person in this situation, even if he had a teleportation skill, it would be too late to use them. He would instantly be killed by Moment God. Dollar's thoughts traveled 10,000 miles per hour. They are not restricted by the time god's power. In the universe, not many people can practice teleportation skills to this level. It is almost as good as the very high with their god's wander ability. No matter how powerful his teleportation skills are, he cannot defeat Moment God. Han Sen had his time area to use, but it was his other persona that was making use of it. He was not able to use it as he was now. Plus, a time ghost beast soul's time area was weaker than Moment God's time god power. Even if he used it, it would not make a change in the current fight. Using time power before time element god spirits was like using a big knife against a Guan Yu. Han Sen did not plan on doing that. Because Han Sen had the time area. He knew that breaking Moment God's time god area could only be accomplished through two different techniques. One required speed, and one required absolute power. Old Vulture used absolute speed to break Han Sen's time area. Han Sen did not have that kind of speed, so all he could do was use absolute power to break Moment God's god power. It does not matter with time or space, but the rules of the universe are the rules of the universe. They are governed by the universal cogwheels. If I can control the cogwheels of the universe, I can prohibit the universal cogwheels from moving. Even God powers will be unable to affect the spread. Han Sen teleported to dodge Moment God's attack. He kept using the Dongxian Sutra and pumped all the power into Dongxian aura that he could. He tried to use absolute power to control the spinning of the universal cogwheels. In Xenogenic mode, my power is better than the average true god. I still do not know if it is enough to suppress a disaster-class god spirit. Han Sen kept using the Dongxian aura to give pressure to the time universal cogwheel. The time universal cogwheel could not be stopped completely, but the speed of its spin was slow. The effects on Han Sen weakened. The Xenogenic power cannot suppress disaster god spirits. Han Sen frowned. Time's delay had little effect on him now. Under the effect of the Dongxian aura, Moment God's own time boost was slowed down. It made his speed slow down. Adding this and taking away that, Han Sen turned active. He was not going to keep teleporting to fight Moment God. Dong! The Sky Vine Radish God Lance was able to hit Moment God's claws for the first time. The God power hit the lance's light. It triggered a scary explosion and shockwave. Han Sen flew away through space by a few thousand miles. Moment God's legs had two very deep footprints on the God Temple Plaza. He can affect my time God power. It is no wonder he is so cocky. He dares to challenge me. Moment God's eyes flashed. The needles in his eyes kept spinning. They looked scary and weird. He said, "If you think this can fight a god, you are wrong. I will let you know the difference between a mere creature and a god spirit." After that, Moment God's claws dug into his own eyes. There was one in the right and one in the left. Catcha! Seeing blood being spilled as the two sharp claws poked into his eyes, Moment God unplugged his eyeballs right out of their sockets. This was different from what Han Sen was expecting. Inside the sockets, God lights flickered. The eyeballs, which had been dug out, were not the only ones. Many eyes started to come out. One by one, eyes rolled out of the God light socket. Roar! When Moment God madly roared, all the eyeballs in his eyes were dug out. There were 12 of them. He put his hands together. He made a bracelet out of the 12 eyeballs. They went across his crossed hands. There were still streams of blood coming out of his eyes. Han Sen looked at the eyeball bracelet. All those eyeballs were like circular watches. All of the needless were jumping to an unspecified rhythm. But all the eyeballs were pointing to a different point in time. Han Sen looked closer and discovered that each watch was 1 hour later than the others. Time is like a ruler. One mark is one scar. Stupid lowlife creature. How dare you insult a god spirit? Today, I will wipe you from the annals of history. I will let all the cheap creatures know that they cannot offend a god spirit. Moment God's hands were holding the bloody eyeball necklace. His eyes were still bleeding god blood as he spoke his words of madness. After Moment God crazily spoke, his fingers flicked the eyeballs. The necklace was instantly brighter. It covered the entirety of space. Chapter 2982 Time. Etching the whole of space in the area of the God Temple was twisted. Nothing was visible with any ordinary clarity. This was what the deified elites could see. But even their vision started to become distorted. It was like a shadow in the water. When the water moved, the vision twisted. Moment God held his time bracelet. He mumbled words like a Buddha speaking for the dead. In that twisted parcel of space, Moment God's body was like a sky god covering the whole of the God Temple's sky. Han Sen was like a tiny ant. Except a god's anger. Time etching. Moment God's god voice was loud. He raised the bracelet that was in his hands. The needless present in the 12 eyeballs was spinning madly. In one moment, Han Sen felt as if he could see the flow of time with his eyes. All the numbers in the 12 eyes fired out some weird, twisted lights. The light connected them in the 12 eyes. It was like a giant net covering the entire God Temple's area. Han Sen did not have a space to avoid it. He could not find a place to be safe. 1G he saw the weird light cross together like a net. It was coming down. Han Sen pushed his Dongxian aura to the max. But he still could not stop the twisting lines of time that were descending. The time light's line landed on Han Sen's Dongxian armor. It was like a laser, and left some weird markings on it. It was like a symbol that represented time. It scrawled across the entire battle armor's surface. This is. Han Sen noticed his body did not get injured. Instead, his whole body was marked. The markings were releasing a weird sort of power. Han Sen wanted to raise his hands and see what had been etched into his armor and what it meant for him. He shockingly found out his arm was no longer listening to him. He was unable to move it. Why is this happening? Han Sen quickly discovered that it was not just his arm. His whole body was unable to move. He was not even able to cast a Geno art. Han Sen was feeling very strange. Although he was unable to move, he still felt his body existed. He was able to feel his body's presence flowing. Everything seemed to be normal. Whenever he wanted to do something, his hands, legs, and presence listened. This feeling was very weird. It was like a ghost crushing him. He felt everything but could not move. Moment God looked at Han Sen coldly. The god blood was still flowing from his eye sockets. He was holding the bracelet while he said, "Stop wasting your breath. Your time is already being erased. There is nothing you can do about it now. You can only accept God's punishment. That is the result of your blasphemy toward a god spirit." What Moment God said was very simple. Han Sen understood what he meant because he had practiced a time area Geno art. He knew something about time element powers. Moment God had just reminded him a little, so Han Sen knew what the time etching power could do. Han Sen's body was not paralyzed because the time etching wiped off his body for a while. It was hard to explain. Normally, when Han Sen wanted to do something, once his mind set it up, his body reacted. The time etching marks erased his body for a while. When Han Sen had the idea to move, the time would be empty afterward. He needed to wait until the empty time was over. Then, Han Sen's body would have the needed reaction. It was like playing a video game, and the internet suddenly lagged. The time in between was wiped away. When the internet came back, the body reacted. Han Sen did not know how long that empty time was. After seeing Moment God's very relaxed face, he knew it would not be anytime soon. Moment God's hands were clutching the bloody eyeball necklace. He walked toward Han Senator. The sockets that had God blood coldly looked at Han Senator. They were going to touch Han Sen's face. He licked his lips and smiled evilly. Moment God then said, "I thought you were so good at fighting. I am standing right here. Why are you not moving?" Han Sen wanted to slap him 1,000 or 10,000 times, but it was a shame his body would not listen. The time etching erased the time he had in his body. He was not even able to speak. "Don't say I did not give you a chance. If you don't move now, you will receive God's punishment." Moment God weirdly laughed. He reached out his hand and moved forward to grab Han Sen's head. "It looks like I will have to use this." Han Sen gently closed his eyes. He was going to use Super God Spirit mode. At this time, the Super God Spirit body was not going to be affected. With Wanner's effect, his Super God Spirit mode would not last long, but it was enough. Moment God was very close to him. His awareness was very low. He only needed one moment to take Moment God's life. Moment God's face had a bloody smile. The claw, which looked like a very sharp talon, drew closer to Han Sen's head. Clearly, he did not want Han Sen to die a swift death. "Do you want to live? Beg before me. Perhaps I will show you a speck of mercy and let you, a low-life, cheap creature, continue your pitiful existence." Moment God weirdly laughed as he spoke. The creatures watching the fight saw Dollar being suppressed by Moment God. He was unable to move, so it was needless to say they were shocked. Although Dollar was not the real #1 fighter on the God list, his real power put him in the top 10. Yet here he was getting suppressed by a disaster-class God spirit, by such an obscene amount. How was anyone supposed to not feel shocked? This was just a disaster-class God spirit. Above disaster class were annihilation and reboot. There were 2 higher classes of God spirits. They must have been absolutely terrifying. We are just creatures of the universe. We cannot fight God spirits. Only by becoming God spirits ourselves can we shed the trappings of our mortal body. That way, we can become superior life forms. Many creatures thought that. Han Sen was just watching Moment God. Although he was not able to speak, even if he could, he would not beg for his life before Moment God. That equaled making a wish to Moment God. Han Sen had briefly been a God spirit. He knew making a wish like that would cost him a fortune. Han Sen's eyes made Moment God feel so annoyed. They made him so angry that he coldly said, If you want to die, I will do as you ask. After that, the claws sped up. They came slashing toward Han Sen's head. Han Sen was unable to fight back. He watched the claws land on his head. Stop it! A voice sounded from beyond the god temple. The voice was so slow that no one noticed a body flying into the god temple's plaza. Because of that moment, Han Sen's body shone brightly. He was like a volcano erupting. His body armor was covered by the time-etching marks. It turned into a bright white color. Chapter 2983, Killing a God Spirit Moment. God did not believe Han Sen could break the time-etching's control. He was too close to Han Senator. He wanted to use time power to stop Han Sen, but it was no longer working. In that burning light, Han Sen was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. It had cold light that pierced into Moment God's chest. So what if he can hit me? The body of a disaster-class God Spirit cannot be harmed by you. Before Moment God finished his sentence, his face changed. He looked down and saw Han Sen's Sky Vine Radish God Lance had perforated his chest. In that cold light, Moment God's disaster-class God Spirit body was pierced. His body started to collapse from the point of that wound on his body. No, this is impossible. Moment God thought it was unbelievable and screamed. His entire body turned into dust and exploded. It looks like my Super God Spirit mode has become much stronger as I leveled up. Han Sen was a little surprised by its effectiveness. He had not expected to kill Moment God in the way he had with one hit. He was hoping to just heavily damage Moment God. The moment he used Super God Spirit mode, he chose his strongest attack, Super Spank. The effect far exceeded Han Sen's expectations. With one hit, he blew up the disaster-class God Spirit Moment God. Although Moment God had been very careless, the main reason for defeating him was because Han Sen's Super God Spirit mode was just too strong. Han Sen measured it a little. Even when he used the Kirin's Holy Spirit, it was no match for the power of Super God Spirit mode. But Wanna was there. His Super God Spirit only let out a strike, and that was that. It quickly dissolved. Han Sen returned to normal. It had all happened very fast. The universe's audience saw Han Sen's body explode with white light. In the next second, he was thrusting his weapon through Moment God. The incredibly strong disaster-class Moment God had not been able to resist. He screamed and died. The universe went silent. After a while, all the creatures started reacting. Everyone was erupting with chatter. It is no wonder Dollar is the strongest in the universe. One lance strike was enough to blow up a disaster-class God Spirit. That is invincible. Huh, you did not say that before. You said Han Sen's God list number 1 was given by Golden Growler. That is not what I meant. Golden Growler gave out number 1 because he knew he would lose. Otherwise, why would he give it to him? It just means Dollar is too strong. Dollar is too strong. He must be the first creature in the universe to slay a disaster-class God Spirit. Everybody was talking about it. The green-haired beast from Empty Mountain gnashed its teeth and madly said, Dollar has that power. Yet he did not go to save Little Mountain Leader. If he cooperates with Han Sen, perhaps they can save Little Mountain from that Moment God Temple. The Ghana woman coldly grunted. Wolf hearts and dog lungs. They had no idea Han Sen and Dollar could not cooperate. No one suspected Han Sen and Dollar were the same person, because they were of a different race. It was like a cat and a dog. No one would have believed they were the same. In the Geno Hall, God looked at Han Sen standing in front of the God Temple. He frowned and thought, this power. It is going to reach that level. His body really is different. In Blood Legion, Human King squinted his eyes and looked at Han Senator. His eyes looked weird. On the streets of a small planet, a fortune-telling old man opened his eyes wide. He looked at Han Sen in front of the God Temple. He was full of confusion and said, Weird. Not a God Spirit. How could he use a power that was like a God Spirit? Sky Palace leader frowned and receded into his thoughts. Dollar, what race is he? Why would he possess that power? In front of Moment God Temple, Moment God turned into dust, but did not fade away like other God Spirits. The God Temple's God altar did not start. The God flag that had Moment God's title suddenly turned white. The God Temple started to look dim. It turned into an empty temple with no god spirit. What is going on? How has God's spirit not been revived? Everyone was shocked. They did not know what was happening. The god spirit that claimed to be immortal did not respawn. Han Sen was confused too. After he hunted Moment God, he only received one announcement. Disaster class god spirit hunted, Moment God. The announcement was just that one simple line. No god spirit or god spirit gene was received. It was different from what Han Sen had slain before. What is going on? Is it because of Super Spank? Or is it a problem with my Super God Spirit mode? Han Sen suddenly had many ideas running through his mind. On the other side of the God Temple's plaza, a body stood where it was. It was looking at Han Sen with much shock. After a moment, that shocked face suddenly had a weird smile and said, "Dollar really is legendary. One lance enabled you to slay a god. In the universe, you really must be number one." Bai King. Han Sen turned around. He felt weird. He knew Bai King was already there, but he did not know why Bai King had come there now. Obviously, Bai King had arrived there in the hopes of saving him. If he had not used his Super God Spirit mode, Bai King would have come there to take Moment God's strike on his behalf. Han Sen did not think his relationship with Bai King was that good. So far, everything Bai King did confused Han. Senator Han Sen looked at Bai King and asked, "Why? This place is not appropriate for us to talk. Let us find another place to talk." After speaking, Bai King left the god palaces. Han Sen followed Bai King and flew away from the god palaces. He really wanted to know what Bai King's motive was for treating him the way he was all the time. Han Sen and Bai King disappeared after leaving the god temple because the god palaces showed up again. It was a place everyone could see from across the universe. Every race was able to witness what happened near the god palaces. After leaving the god palaces, unless they were close to Han Sen, no one could see them. This act made the universe blow up. Every creature was shocked and confused. Aren't god spirits immortal? What is going on? How was Dollar able to murder a god spirit? What just happened? Why didn't Moment God revive inside the god temple? Oh my god! Dollar can really slay god spirits. It looks like god spirits are not invincible. They claim to be immortal, but he was killed by Dollar. The whole universe was talking about Han Sen killing a god spirit. The invincible image of god spirits seemed to have crumbled a bit. Han Sen and Bai King had just left the god palaces. They were looking for a quiet place to talk when the god palace's god temple suddenly shone very bright. Chapter 2984 God Spirit descends in the God Palaces. The God Temple under the Geno Hall began to release a 3,000-foot-long light. It was like a sun exploding. Previously the life force was like a sea. The God Temple that released the scary God light was suddenly dead. The shining gold God Temple was dim. It was like some dust had been scattered. What's going on? Han Sen and Bai King were shocked. That God Temple was very high. It was only one step below the Geno Hall. It was an Annihilation-class God Temple. Looking at the God Temple now, it seemed as if it had been beaten and shut down. In the universe, who can beat an Annihilation-class God Spirit and force it to shut down? While Han Sen pondered this, he saw the dusty God Temple door open. A shadow emerged from beyond. The creatures of the universe did not see whose body it was. All they saw was a flash and the body disappear. It looked like it left the God Palace. Oh no! Bai King's face changed. Han Sen looked at Bai King and asked, "Oh no, what?" "That Annihilation-class God Spirit possessed a body and descended," Bai King said. "It entered the universe. We should run." He wanted to run off immediately. Before his body moved, he saw a portion of space move nearby. A body appeared. It was the same body that emerged from the God Palace. The body was not very tall. It just about a foot taller than Han Sen, but the power it wielded was strong. He was wearing black armor. His shoulders had a black hammer that was the size of a barrel. His god eyes were coldly looking at Han Sr. "You killed a god. You should be killed." The god spirit did not say much. He only said a few words before starting to wave his big hammer around in the air. Han Sen understood that the Annihilation God Spirit had possessed a body to descend and kill him, since he had killed a god. Han Sen did not say anything. He used galaxy teleportation because he wanted to leave. He wanted to teleport a few systems away. Han Sen teleported away. While he was teleporting, he was inside a space tunnel. He heard some explosion sounds next to his ear. He then felt his body get hit. He was knocked out of the space tunnel. Han Sen's eyes flashed. He still saw himself in space. That god spirit's strong body was not very far away. He was holding that big, scary hammer. The space around was cracking like glass. The space cracks were like a spiderweb. The power of the god spirit's hammer was breaking the entire system. It created many broken layers in space. Even using galaxy teleportation was impossible now. It could no longer be used. Han Sen knew it was time to fight for his life. Killing a disaster-class god spirit had been incredibly difficult. It forced him to use his super god spirit mode. Now, an annihilation-class god spirit was using a body to descend. The power of that hammer far exceeded Han Sen's power. Han Sen's full power attack was unable to reach the magnitude of his new nemesis. He tightly held onto the sky vine radish god lance. Han Sen pushed his own power to the maximum. Bai King, who was nearby, frowned. He looked at the god spirit and said, "I do not think we offended you. Why have you descended to come and fight us?" The god spirit was holding his big hammer as he coldly responded, "Killing a god spirit is a crime." After that, another hammer came from the sky. He and Han Sen were a galaxy apart. But that hammer's power was not coming to strike Han Senator, it was striking the space that was in front of him. After the hammer came down, the whole of space shook. Han Sen felt as if his body had been broken by space. Blurg. Han Sen coughed up some boiling blood. He tried his hardest to fight back. But his xenogenic battle body could still not withstand that scary shaking power. Many of his organs were severely injured, and his god bones had many fractures. It was like they were going to break any second. Bai King was attacked too. His body was shining with light. There was a shield of light covering his body that looked like a god spirit. It blocked that scary shaking power. The god spirit hammered down. This time, the hammer's strike was greater than the last one. Han Sen was in too much shock. He was forced to gather up power and ready himself for another battle. Boom! Bai King's body appeared in front of Han Senator. That weird light was following Bai King's movement. It created a defensive bulwark and blocked the god spirit's heavy hammer attack. Spirit of God. Han Sen was shocked. When he looked closer, it was not really a god spirit. The light of Bai King's body was like a god and a demon. It was like an ancient battle spirit. It had 3 heads and 6 arms. 6 of the hands were wielding different weapons. There was a sword, knife, shield, jian ring, and mirror. There were 4 types of weapons, and they were releasing a weird and mysterious light. The one that blocked the god spirit's hammer attack was the shield. Han Sen looked at the light. It looked just like a beast soul and god spirit, but it was different. He was thinking of the xenogeniacs that had no souls in the 9 Defense Palace. He thought, are these spirit weapons made from the xenogeniac spirits? Bai King stared at the god spirit and slowly said to Han Sen, "You leave now. Why are you saving me?" Han Sen did not understand why Bai King was risking a fight against this god spirit to save him. In any way, his relationship with Bai King was not a positive one. If Bai King had come to save him because he was a student, Han Sen believed that was hogwash. When Bai King's son died, he had not taken it that seriously. And he was just a student. Bai King stared at the god spirit as he said, "I don't have time to talk about that. I cannot last long. Hurry up and leave. Get as far away from here as you possibly can. No one is leaving. You are all going to die today." The god's voice was like thunder. It was extremely loud. After those words were spoken, the god spirit's big hammer was coming down. The hammer carried an incredibly scary breaking power. It was suddenly in front of Bai King. The shaking of space was very scary. Now that the hammer was coming, it was so strong that even Han Sen, who was behind Bai King, felt as if he could not beat it. Bai King stared at that scary god hammer. He did not fall back. His body was like a demon god's shadow that was silently roaring in the sky. He was holding the shield while running toward the god hammer. Boom! A scary shockwave suddenly destroyed the space around. Han Sen used all of his power to fight the shockwave, but his Dongxian armor was starting to reveal cracks. Run! Bai Qing's voice was heard again. Han Sen gnashed his teeth. He turned around and headed for the broken space that looked like a spiderweb. Don't run! The god spirit coldly shouted. He was holding a big hammer. He waved it at Han Sen, but Bai Qing stopped him. If there is someone I want to save, not even a god can get in the way. Bai Qing's voice was clear and cold. Han Sen felt there was some scary space-shaking force behind him. Han Sen used the borrow strength skill and the shockwave to propel his sprint through the broken space. Chapter 2985 Kill Sky, God teleporting so fast through broken space made the scary power from behind become weaker. When Han Sen exited the broken space area, he did not see that annihilation god spirit follow. Bai Qing must have halted its pursuit. The spirit weapon the Extreme King made was stronger than the Holy Kirin. That is surprising. Han Sen was shocked, thinking of how that thing came from the Extreme King Alpha. It must have been handed down generation after generation. It was unknown how many xenogenic spirits had been built into it. It was not impossible for it to possess such wild strength. It was enough to fight an annihilation-class god spirit. Han Sen still thought it was too ridiculous. Why does Bai Qing treat me the way he does? Han Sen thought. That was what he wondered about the most. In the past, Bai Qing was in a rush to save him in the god temple. He was so surprised. Now, Bai Qing was willing to fight an annihilation-class god spirit to save him. That made no sense. No matter what, let me get out of here first. Han Sen was silent. He did not dare return to Space Garden yet. He teleported to the outskirts of the Big Barren systems. He was afraid the god spirit would trace his retreat into Space Garden. If it followed him there, he feared things would not go so well. Going to the outskirts, Han Sen went into the Big Barren systems again. He wanted to use the hidden power inside the Big Barren systems, so that the god spirit would not find out where he was. He would then be able to escape with Han Sen's identity. Han Sen had only just entered the Big Barren systems when he heard some thunder rage above his head. The space around cracked. It resulted in it all cracking like a spiderweb. That god spirit tore through space and managed to catch up. I thought that after a god spirit was possessed, their powers were restricted by their bodies. I thought they could only be true god class at best. This god spirit's power is way better than a true god class. Han Sen frowned. Han Sen looked at the god spirit and asked, "Where is Bai Qing?" "I kill Sky God want to kill. Not even God can stop me. And he is just a creature in the universe." Kill Sky God was holding his god hammer. He was floating in space and coldly looking at Han Sen as he spoke. Han Sen heard Kill Sky God's tone of voice and felt a flush of relief. It seemed as if Bai Qing had not been killed by him. Kill Sky God raised the hammer in his hand. In a voice laden with disdain he said, "The slayers of gods should be killed. No one can save you now." Kill Sky God used one hand to hold the giant hammer and swung it down. It was like the whole of space had become some brittle glass beneath the hammer. It just broke with the strike of the hammer. Han Sen's eyes froze. His body was suddenly full of light. He entered Super God Spirit mode again. The shattering space had not left any marks on him. The Skyvine Radish God Lance brought some cold light forward. It was thrust toward Kill Sky God. With a look of disdain, Kill Sky God raised his hammer to attack the Skyvine Radish God Lance. Han Sen flashed away holding the lance. He went behind Kill Sky God and thrust it through the back of his head. Super Spank. Han Sen was still in Super God Spirit mode. He used Super Spank's power at max capacity. Catcha! The tip of the lance broke behind Kill Sky God. It sounded like metal shattering. It was like some metal had been sucked into a blender. God light and sparks were everywhere. The tip of the Skyvine Radish God Lance only went in about 5 inches before not being able to proceed further. Super Spank's power was not enough to completely destroy Kill Sky God's substance chain. It only shattered a few of the substance chains that were outside. Kill Sky God waved his big hammer as Han Sen had to pull his lance back. He used galaxy teleportation to get away from that system. Under the Super God Spirit mode, The broken space layers were unable to prevent him from using galaxy teleportation, but Wanner was still inside his destiny's tower. She was burning with gold light. She cancelled Hansen's super god spirit mode. Han Sen gnashed his teeth and held on, but he could not keep it up. His body fell out of super god spirit mode, forcing him out of galaxy teleportation. Although he left Kill Sky God's broken space, he was still inside the Big Baron systems. He had not gone too far. Without super god spirit mode, galaxy teleportation could not be used in the Big Baron systems because they had magnetic storms and space vortexes. Han Sen tried his best to get to the Holy Palace. There the darkness power would at least affect the god spirit. The god spirit would not dare venture near that place. He had the Holy Kirin spirit, which restricted the darkness from damaging him while he was in there. That was the best place for Han Sen to use as a battleground. Han Sen had not been flying for long when the sound of Kill Sky God's big hammer broke space again. The spiderweb-like cracks in space reappeared and covered the sky to trap Han Sr. Wanner. Wanner. It is not that I do not want to take care of you. It is just because this is a critical moment. I need to live for the future. Han Sen raised his hand and Destiny's Tower appeared in it. Han Sen tossed it out. Seeing the Destiny's Tower go further and further, Han Sen felt Super God Spirit Body could be used with his body again. Wanner's effects on him were diminishing. Destiny's Tower? Impossible. You are not a God Spirit. How can you have Destiny's Tower? Kill Sky God saw Han Sen throw Destiny's Tower away. He was shocked. Seeing it twice, Kill Sky God saw something amiss. He looked at Destiny's Tower and said, "No, this is not Destiny's Tower. It is just a copy of Destiny's Tower. I think I have seen this copy someplace else. I know it now. Back then, Sacred Leader wanted to create Destiny's Tower. It did not break. It is still here. They should really die." Kill Sky God's face looked more murderous. He kept clutching his giant hammer, but he did not attack. A scary power was gathering up in the big hammer. There were very old and mysterious spells on each side of the hammer. Han Sen's body still had Super God Spirit mode, but he was still worried. From inside Destiny's Tower, something was thrown away. Wanner's body shone with a golden light. It looked crazy as she entered blonde mode. It was just like Han Senator, she adopted a strange status. Her body kept rapidly increasing. It was still different from Han Senator. His Super God Spirit mode was not able to harm him. He just had to get out before it ended. Wanner was different. Her blonde mode cost her significant life every second. If she was blonde for too long, there was a chance her life force would end with it. The scariest thing was that after she turned into blonde mode, she would not recognize anyone. She would become like the raging demon lady. There was a chance that she would emerge from Destiny's Tower, not knowing who was a friend and who was a foe. Whatever you are, just go to hell. The symbols on Kill Sky God's hammer were like suns. The weapon was striking toward space. The God symbol that was hanging in space suddenly branded space with a God symbol. In the next second, the symbol shattered. As the symbol shattered, everything inside the symbol turned to dust. It did not matter if it was a planet or sun. Although it did not explode, it released energy. In just a second it had become a substance. Chapter 2986 Wanner woke up. Han Sen was in Super God Spirit mode. That scary power went through his semi-transparent body and did not do anything to him. Han Sen was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. He teleported in front of Kill Sky God and struck his head again. He had to act very quickly since Wanner would not last long. Dong. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance carried the power of Super Spank and struck Kill Sky God's neck. The tip of the lance plunged into his muscles and dug in a few inches before it was unable to go any further. Han Sen had selected a location that had no armor for protection. If he struck the armor, the result would have likely been unfavorable. Kill Sky God's eyes flickered with God light, but he could not dodge Han Sen's strike. The God hammer in his hand kept on swinging. Against the Super God Spirit body it was useless. Han Sen's Skyvine Radish Godlance kept on attacking. It hit the same wound that had already been inflicted upon Kill Sky God. He wanted to continuously strike the same spot and sever his neck. Hansen quickly discovered that the speed of his wound ripping was not as fast as Kill Sky God's wound healing. His repeated attacks did not accomplish much. Before the second lance reached that spot, Kill Sky God's wound released some god light and was almost healed. My power really isn't enough to kill an annihilation class god spirit. Hansen frowned. He was in a bit of a rush. Destiny's Tower Wanner was getting worse. She was almost going to wake up. The only thing that made Hansen happy was the fact that Destiny's Tower was being shaken by Kill Sky God's scary power and wasn't breaking. It did not even get damaged. It was just the power that made it keep bouncing around everywhere. It was moving further away from the battleground. Moaning sounds were heard from someplace within the tower. It sounded as if it was going to crack any second. It was uncertain how long it would last. If I had not borrowed a body and pushed my power to the max by using the strongest god skill, you would have been killed by now already. Kill Sky God looked at Hansen coldly. The big hammer in his hand did not keep attacking. He allowed Hansen's Sky Vine Radish God Lance to keep striking him, but he was still unable to inflict deadly, fatal wounds on him. Even if I cannot make use of all my power, you cannot damage my god spirit body. Let's see how long you can keep it up. Once your power has been exhausted, it will be time for me to kill you. Kill Sky God's voice was so cold that it made one feel a chill deep in their bones. Hansen did not know how long his Super God Spirit mode will last. This was the first time he had used Super God Spirit mode as a true god. For now, he did not feel uncomfortable or anything. It was similar to Wanner not disturbing him. Super God Spirit mode should have lasted a long time. If Hansen wanted to leave, Kill Sky God could not stop him. If he left now, Wanner would be done for. If he brought Wanner with him, the Super God Spirit mode would be gone. That would have made it impossible to flee. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Hansen would not give up Wanner. Besides the fact that he had been taking Wanner with him for very long, even if it was a dog, he would feel emotion toward it. Plus, there were many secrets regarding Wanner that he had yet learned. Hansen had also enjoyed 3 drinks with Qin Xiu, and promised him he would take care of Wanner. He could not just back out now. With things becoming like this, I cannot care too much. I will have to use the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit to get out of this. Hansen had no other choice. Hansen knew Kill Sky God's real power was not as invincible as he was making it out to be. When his body landed, he did not have an absolute suppress power. Otherwise, Skyvine Radish God Lance would not have hurt him. His god skills made his body stronger than a true god class elite. Even with a buff off a god skill, he would have been unable to destroy his body with the Skyvine Radish God Lance. If he had a buff from the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit, there was a chance of success. If he used the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit now, he would expose the fact that Dollar was Han's senator. Fortunately, no one knew Hansen was human. Even if he exposed himself, the god spirits would not come after him for a while. As for the future, Hansen would just have to wait and see how it all shook out. Catcha. While Hansen prepared to summon the Kirin's Holy Spirit to possess the Sky Vine Radish God Lance, he suddenly heard something crack open far away in space. In the space around, Hansen and Kill Sky God's power broke everything into dust. There was nothing left to break. Hansen heard that sound. He thought it was terrible. He turned around and saw Destiny's Tower display a crack. It had probably endured too many hits. Before Hansen reacted, a gold, holy light came out from the crack. There was suddenly a blonde lady rising from the crack. Her blonde hair was waving as much as her clothes were. Wanner was sleeping inside Destiny's Tower. Now Wanner had become the blonde-haired lady. Her whole body released a weird blonde light that made her body look like a dream. It did not look real. Wanner looked like Hansen's Super God Spirit mode, but it was a bit different. Wanner's eyes were open. Clearly, she had gotten rid of her sleeping mode, but her gold eyes still had no focus. She was like a zombie. Wanner. Impossible. How are you still alive? You cannot still be alive. When Kill Sky God saw the blonde Wanner, his face changed. It was like he had just laid eyes on a ghost. Even earlier, when Hansen hit him, he did not have this expression. He still exhibited the pride of a god spirit. After seeing Wanner for a brief moment, he was freaking out. Hansen thought it was strange how he had just lost it like this. Kill Sky God recognized Wanner, which did not make Hansen feel weird. There was an 80% to 90% chance that Kill Sky God was one of the god spirits that descended way back when. It was not a surprise for him to have seen Wanner with the rest of Sacred. Seeing his face, he seemed absolutely terrified of Wanner. That made Hansen feel like it was unbelievable. It all happened in a moment. Wanner came out of Destiny's tower. Her unfocused eyes fell on Hansen, which made him feel a chill. Cha! Wanner's body suddenly went blurry in front of Hansenator with Hansen's vision. He was not able to see where she moved. Subconsciously, Hansen fell back. He noticed that Wanner was not going after him. That pretty and soft body of hers went before Kill Sky God. She raised her right arm without any emotion. Her hand was like a knife slashing down from up high. The blonde hair and gold clothes were waving as she struck. Kill Sky God's face looked shocked. His hands were holding a giant hammer. He swung it at Wanner as he fell back. Wanner's hand was full of a golden flame. She continued her downward strike. The giant hammer, which had destroyed everything, was like tofu being cut in half by her hand. Kill Sky God's face was wretched. He was unable to completely fall back. His face had been cut from his forehead to his jaw by Wanner's fingertip. It was like the center of his face had a red line. Chapter 2987 Got a god personality again. I was that strong. Hansen was shocked. The most shocking thing about this situation came later. After Kill Sky God was injured, he was so shocked that he wanted to escape, but could not even turn around. Wanner's face displayed zero emotion. Her beautiful body was flickering like a ghost. Her hands were waving as she moved. Since she moved so fast, even with Hansen's eye power, he only saw Wanner's body appearing and disappearing. Her hands possessed a lot of gold light as she flashed past Kill Sky God. When Kill Sky God turned his body to run, Wanner stopped. Her small body floated in space. She slowly turned and looked at Hansenator. Kill Sky God had only sprinted away about 30 feet before God blood was everywhere. His body was suddenly broken. It was worse than his body being hanged, drawn and quartered. In the next second, Hansen saw a god light in the sky, but it was hidden by the Big Baron system's Big Baron power. It did not go into space and create a god sadness. After Kill Sky God's god body was burned away, one part of his upper arm bone remained. That bone was around 3 feet long. It was shaped like a hammer and pitch black. It appeared very heavy, Hansen thought. It looks like Wanner's power and mine are a bit different. The god spirit she killed left a god personality behind. The god spirits I kill leave nothing. Even the god personality was gone. Hansen was not currently in the mood to think. Wanner teleported in front of Hansenator. He gathered up power and looked at Wander with alert eyes. The blonde Wanner might not have recognized him. Considering the power she had just put on display, she was not someone Hansen believed he was capable of combating. Wanner arrived before Hansenator. The gold fire connected with Hansen's white flame. The two powers melted into each other as if they were connecting. Big brother. Wanner looked at Hansen with shock and fell into his arms. Hansen held Wanner, which led to their flames extinguishing. It suddenly disappeared, and everything returned to normal. Big brother. Wanner misses you. She misses you so much. Hansen looked at Wanner, but her eyelids became heavier and heavier. She tried her best to look at Hansen, but she was unable to fight the sleepiness. She closed her eyes and went to sleep. Hansen's expression looked a little distorted. Wanner's situation was very bad. Her life force was almost too weak for him to feel. It seemed as if she would die at any moment. Hansen quickly took out a bottle of Geno fluid and fed it to her. But it had no effect. He summoned the light well lots too. But that did not help Wanner either. If you miss your big brother so much, you must hold on no matter what. If you die, I can never see you again. Hansen picked up Wanner and took Kill Sky God's bone back with him. Nev Destiny's tower's tower had a crack that went all the way up to down. It was like it had been broken by someone. Hansen knew that it had not been broken by Kill Sky God. It was Wanner who had broken it while rushing out. Hansen picked up Wander and entered Destiny's tower. He sorted out the stuff inside. He had a conflicted expression. Everything was there except two people were missing. Ancient Devil and Ancient Abyss Grandmaster were gone. The stone platform and space by Sema were still fine. They were not damaged, but they were gone. I did not expect Ancient Devil would be able to escape, but that is fine by me. Han Sen shook his head. He put Wanner inside Destiny's Tower, and put Destiny's Tower away. He was holding that Kill Sky God arm bone. Han Sen was thinking, right now, I have Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God's God personality. This will be the third God personality I have received. But Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God were just destruction class. They cannot compare to an annihilation class Kill Sky God and his Kill Sky God God personality. Han Sen was hesitating because unlike ordinary creatures, he knew the God personality was God spirit genes. Han Sen knew that due to the announcements. Although Han Sen was not able to absorb God spirit genes, he always believed if he was able to absorb other genes, there was no way he could absorb God spirit genes. Perhaps he had just not yet found a way to absorb the God spirit genes. It was like before in the sanctuaries when he received super genes. At first, people were not able to absorb them. God spirit genes might have been similar to that. He was unsure whether or not putting God personalities in God personality armaments could be absorbed. That Kill Sky God is very powerful. He just descended and was almost invincible. In the God Temple, he must be even scarier. Ordinarily, I would want to kill him and Moment God, both of whom are in the same class. As I am right now, the chances of me doing that are pretty slim. If I have Kill Sky God's God personality armament, my chances will be much higher. I should go swap it. Han Sen made a decision. He then thought, but I do not know what type of God personality armament Kill Sky God's God personality armament is. I hope it is armor so I can block Moment God's attacks. There is no need for me to end up dead because of her. In Han Sen's heart, he knew that Kill Sky God's God personality armament had a low chance of providing him with armor. That arm bone would probably not have ended up looking like armor. No matter what it was, having an annihilation class God personality armament should have helped him a tremendous amount. Han Sen collected the arm bone and figured out which direction he needed to go. He kept going deep into the Big Baron systems. Since he was already there, he figured he might as well check out the Holy Hall. He wanted to see if Little Flower and Old Cat were back yet. With the Holy Spirit, the darkness did not cause Han Sen much trouble or danger. He traveled back to the Holy Palace. He arrived there safely. He was back to being Han Sen now. He reached the Holy Palace. When Han Sen used the long, bright lantern's light and saw the ruins of the Holy Palace, he was shocked. The Holy Palace had been broken when Han Sen was there. Now, the Holy Palace's ruins were dyed black in dry blood. Red Ghost, the Eyeless Beast, and Old Vulture's giant bodies were lying across the ruins. The wounds on their bodies were solid. Their life forces were gone. The eyeless Big Beast's body was split in half. Red Ghost had been decapitated, and Old Vulture's feathers had all been plucked. There was a shadow standing on top of the ruin. Someone was holding Auntie May by the neck. He lifted her up in the air. Auntie May had no strength to struggle. Her hands clutched the other hands, but she could not get away. Mr. Auntie May saw Han Sen enter the radius of the bright long lantern. She had been hopeless, but now she had a bit of hope. She gathered up all her power and used whatever she had left to shout at Han Sen. Be wary of Old Cat. Chapter 2988 Holy Palace Changing Auntie May wanted to say something, but a hand squeezed her head. It twisted her head, ripped it off, and threw it to the ground like trash. Auntie May's head rolled across the floor. Her eyes were wide open. They were full of misery, and appeared as if she did not want to die yet. Han Sen stared at the figure and asked, "Who are you? Why are you killing them?" The figure looked like a human. It looked very young too. The person seemed to be about 20 years old. He was weirdly handsome. He had some weird presence that could not be described. His eyes were very small. They were like the eyes of a fox. A group of useless stuff. They could not even guard the Holy Palace. What was the point of keeping them alive? The young man licked his lips. He smiled and looked at Han Sr. You are Little Flower's father. I did not expect a guy who did not practice holy body could earn Qin Xiu's approval. Han Sen looked at that young man and asked, Who are you? You do not need to know who I am, but I must thank you. If you did not break the holy palace and put out all the race lanterns Qin Xiu made, I could not have killed those 4 watchdogs. The young man smiled at Han Sen and went on to say, Now, I just need to kill you and find Old Cat, and the son that has practiced holy body. I will kill them all. I will slay all who place their faith in Qin Xiu. He will never make a comeback. Upon hearing those words, Han Sen frowned. Judging from the person's voice, it did not sound like he was with Old Cat. Why had Auntie May warned Han Sen about Old Cat before she died? Han Sen looked at the young man and asked, Are you an enemy of Qin Xiu? I am, and I am also not. The young man came down from the ruins of the holy palace. What is that supposed to mean? Han Sen asked. The young man laughed and said, Qin Xiu treated me like a student. He taught me Geno arts. He gave me resources. I cannot say he is my enemy. The grudge we have stems from the fact he hated me, and he ridiculed me. I think he will never expect that sacred was finally destroyed by me. It sounded like a betrayal. The words naturally flowed from the young man's mouth. It sounded like something he was proud of. Han Sen looked at the young man and spoke coldly. I understand what you are saying. You are Sacred's traitor. Han Sen had heard about many people betraying Sacred leader before the collapse. The people he used to meet, such as 9,000 King and others, were loyal to the end. That was why he forgot about that. What? Have you come to seek vengeance on Qin Xiu's behalf? The young man looked at Han Senator. His face bore a smile, but his eyes looked murderous. I have nothing to do with Sacred, and I am not interested in seeking revenge on Qin Xiu's behalf. Han Sen shook his head. He was not interested in seeking revenge for Qin Xiu. When the young man heard that, he laughed incredibly hard and said, Qin Xiu, you were a hero all your life. I did not expect the person you chose at last to turn out to be a wimp. You really were blind. After laughing, the young man looked at Han Sen and said, It is a shame. You and I have no grudge, but you were chosen by Qin Xiu. Cutting weeds without removing the root will result in them growing again. Qin Xiu must have really hated me. How can I let the chosen person remain alive? It looks like you are the one who wants revenge, and not Qin Xiu, Han Sen coldly said. The young man looked gloomy. His eyes opened wide. He was like a bolt of lightning coming before Han Senator. He raised his hand and reached out for Han Sen's neck. Dong! The cause karma knife appeared in Han Sen's hands. The knife was burning with Holy Spirit power. It struck the young man's hands. Han Sen felt power come through the knife. His body lost control, which made him fall back. His legs were on the stone floor. The push made him cleave 2 trenches. The young man coldly said, That is because Qin Xiu is dead. He does not have a chance to care about revenge. Really? Han Sen clutched his knife. His body entered the mind of a chess game. His whole body blended into the broken universe. His eyes were like darkness as they peered at the young man. You would not understand. You are just an ignorant, poor worm that was used by Qin Xiu. The young man seemed to think of something. The murderous look appeared even harsher. He laughed. I am afraid you have no idea what Qin Xiu was like. You are still dreaming that you can replace him to become the new sacred leader. I can tell you that is impossible. It does not matter if it is you or your son who practices holy body. You are all just chess pieces. Qin Xiu would do anything to get what he wants. Your life, in his eyes, is worse than just one of his sister's hairs. After being used, you will be thrown away like trash. Han Sen winked and said, It sounds like Qin Xiu did something bad to you. The young man's face suddenly looked very contorted. It even looked twisted. He gnashed his teeth and smiled. It was nothing. I was just like you. I was made a chess piece. I was a test subject. But I am different from you. You are all chess pieces. You are just lab rats. You cannot change your fate all the way to the grave. But I am different. I escaped the fate of being a chess piece. I became a player and defeated Qin Xiu. I am now scrubbing away Qin Xiu's last hope. He will never come back. Even in hell, all he can do is cry without hope. While the young man spoke, his teeth chomped hard. He suddenly laughed very hard. So, what was Qin Xiu's last hope? The Holy Spirit. Han Sun looked at the cause karma knife that was burning with Holy Spirit power. The young man looked at him with disdain. That half-broken product is not Qin Xiu's hope. I want the gene prototype. Qin Xiu must have found a way to give you, or your son, the gene prototype. He died, so he had no choice. I just need to kill you both, and Qin Xiu will become a loser. Han Sun pretended he had never heard of it before. He looked shocked and asked, Gene reason? What is that? The young man was already 15 feet away from Han Senator. He had not stopped his advance. He walked toward Han Sun saying, very funny. You are Qin Xiu's chess piece, yet you do not even know what a gene prototype is. If we have the same problem, can you explain it? Han Sun did not move as he spoke. Shut up, the young man shouted. I am a replacement that Qin Xiu created, and one he put a lot of effort into. Who are you? You are not like me. His body sped up like a ghost in front of Han Senator. Han Sun suddenly saw the young man's hand move. He felt the whole of space flip as he faced off against the young. Time slowed down, which made Han Sun slow. Today, I will let you know what a real holy body is. I will show you what is better than Qin Xiu. The young man let out an evil laugh as he grabbed Han Sun's neck. Chapter 2989 Copied Body Dong. The young man's hand almost touched Han Sen's neck, when a knife light suddenly blocked it. The knife light and hand light hit each other. It left a bloody mark on the young man's hand. Sky Palace's under the sky knife skill is quite amazing. The young man looked at the bloody mark on his hand and smiled even harder. He swung his hand. The wound on his hand was gone. Han Sun dove into under the sky mind. He did not move. He just looked at the young man. His knife went down. I want to see how much you can endure. The young man's hand changed. Time and space also changed. Han Sun's knife was slower. His place was swapped. The time and space power was similar to the legendary holy body. Back when Little Flower joined the Geno Being Scroll fight, he had displayed this power. Han Sun's body's time and space kept twisting, but the young man could not break Han Sun's knife skill. He already dodged Han Sun's attack. He made Han Sun slower, but he could not hurt Han Senator. Han Sun's place was changed, but he was not afraid. He still slashed toward an area where there was no one. When the young man wanted to attack Han Sun's weak spot, a knife light appeared in space and stopped his hand. The young man's face looked more terrible. He noticed there was something wrong. The space around Han Sun was twisted, but Han Sun had already cast knife lights to stop his attacks. He was being stopped by Han Sun's knife lights. It looks like your holy body is just like that, yet you want to exceed Qin Xiu. Pa. Han Sun waved his knife as he spoke. Han Sun was actually confused. The demon lady and the others said that only Little Flower practiced talents of the holy body. But there were obviously others who had practiced Qin Xiu's holy body. The holy body was not as rare as the demon lady led him to believe. That was why Han Sun used words to offend the young man. He hoped the young man would accidentally spill the beans on some of the holy body's secrets. That is just the beginning. The young man looked mad. His eyes turned a weird blue color. Nothing but blue was visible in his eyes. His body's blood vessels were showing. Even the very small blood vessels were like small dragonflies and little snakes around his snake. His blood was starting to show. Blue blood. Han Sun was a bit shocked by this, so he looked right at the young man. As the blood changed, the young man's presence grew scarier. It was like an angry ghost that would eat everything as fuel for its power was coming out from hell. Yes, I am a blue blood. Qin Xiu used his genes for a blueprint and combined it with better genes. That is why I am here. Although he did not admit it, it is a truth that can never be denied. I am greater than he was. I should be the real Qin Xiu. I should be the real sacred leader. The young man's eyes looked a little insane. Han Sun suddenly understood a lot. Back then Qin Xiu tried to copy people but gave up for some reason. Han Sun thought this young man must have been the failed test subjects that Qin Xiu abandoned. Despite what was done to them, they betrayed sacred. He looked at the young man's face and noted how much he looked like Qin Xiu. He was very similar, although they looked alike, because Qin Xiu's presence was so special. The young man did not possess the presence that Qin Xiu had. Thus, Han Sun had not noticed how similar they were. Boom! While Han Sun was checking him out, the young man's flames turned solid. His whole body was like a transparent crystal. That is a god spirit's presence. Han Sun frowned as he looked at the young man. What came out from him was the special presence only given off by god spirits. Yes, I have Qin Xiu's genes, and I have an annihilation class god spirit's genes. I am stronger than Qin Xiu. I am the real leader of this world. The young man's body was becoming stronger. The armor he had was vaporized by his presence. His naked body was revealed. His body was like a crystal. One was able to see the blue blood coursing through his body. The blue blood power and God spirit mixed together made his presence very strange. It was like he was a human but not a human. It was like he was a god but not a god. If you are so good, why did not rule the universe after Qin Xiu was killed? Han Sun deliberately looked at him with disdain. That is Qin Xiu's fault, the young man crazily said. If he had given me the gene prototype, I would have ruled the world. Those from sacred and the god spirits would be crying before my feet. Han Sun thought the young man was very stable and perhaps end up leaking a secret or two. He quickly asked, so what is the gene prototype? It is Qin Xiu's fault. The young man crazily spoke. His eyes were full of energy. He raised his head and roared to the sky. His scary power was like a volcano erupting. The body only had blue blood. In a moment the blue blood seemed like it was burning. It made the whole body a transparent blue. The flames on the body were blue too. Han Sun frowned. He was a little bit worried. He was afraid Little Flower might turn out like this young man. He had used all the power he had in the alliance to search for Little Flower inside the sanctuaries. But there had yet to be any news of him. That made him very worried. Qin Xiu, what are you doing? Han Sun thought Qin Xiu was scarier than these god spirits. At least god spirits had their rules and principles to follow. Qin Xiu had just done what he pleased. He had not concerned himself with the consequences of his actions. No one was able to stop him. He had no moral compass. To be without rules was a very scary thing. And Qin Xiu was the scariest demon in the deep abyss of not having any rules. Killing god spirits, using gene technology to mix races. Even the holy beasts he grew had their horns taken and souls claimed. The genes were used to replicate people. He went against nature. Qin Xiu had done many scary things. It was much scarier than what a god spirit did. The young man, who looked like a blue crystal god spirit, stared at Han Sr. Anything related to Qin Xiu should die. He slowly spoke each word. When he was done, he reached out his hand and continued looking at Han Senator. Suddenly, the blue light was released. It twisted all of space. Han Sun felt like his body was going left and right in the time and space power. Somehow, he was in front of the young man. The young man's hand grabbed him by the neck. Die! The young man's face looked murderous and full of rage. His hand was full of power. The blue light was spilling. He was going to break Han Sen's neck. Chapter 2990 Love Killing Pig's Pang. Han Sen's body was like a sponge being squeezed by the young man's hand. Suddenly, another version of his body appeared behind the young man. A weird power movement was coming out of Han Sen's fingertips. It tapped the back of the young man's head. The young man coldly laughed. If it was 4 holy spirits combined in one, perhaps it would work against me a little. With just the Kirin's holy spirit, you cannot damage my god spirit holy body at all. The young man's expression quickly changed. He noticed that Han Sun had not used the holy Kirin's power. He had just been tapped on the back of the head. After that hit, Han Sun was sent flying 1,000 miles. The young man turned around. He coldly looked at Han Sun and said, I said I am better than Qin Xiu. I am the true immortal god spirit holy body. Your power does nothing to me. Han Sun's finger had not even hurt his scalp. Han Sun remained silent. He quietly looked at the young man. Stop wasting time. After I kill you, I will reunite you with your son in the pits of hell. I will make sure you don't end up too lonely there. The young man raised a hand. He wanted to combine the power of his holy body and the God Spirit power. When he raised his arm, the young man's eyes looked smaller. He saw that his finger was uncontrollably shaking. It was steadily shaking faster. It was like his finger was playing piano in the air. It was not just his hands. The young man quickly discovered that his entire body was shaking. His muscles were twisting, and his blood vessels were jumping. He was shaking more than a person with Parkinson's disease. His body was powerfully shaking, but the young man could not feel anything wrong. It was like the body that was shaking was not his. The young man brought his hands together, but he could not stop from shaking. He screamed at Han Senior, "What did you do to me?" "Nothing. I just don't like trouble. Fighting powerful creatures can be tiring. So that is why I prefer turning powerful creatures into pigs. Then I kill them as they squeal. It is easier that way." Han Sen looked at the young man calmly. He lifted his cause karma knife. The holy flame on the knife was wildly shaking. "What are you? How dare you talk like that directly in front of me? Die already." The young man flashed a blue light. He was going to grab Han Senator just as he moved. His bones and flesh appeared to recede. The blue god light was fading away. The crystal god body was suddenly smaller. He now had a common body. How is that? Impossible. My God Spirit holy body. The young man was in complete shock. He peered at his hands. His hands were already leaving God Spirit mode. His entire God Spirit body started to wilt soon after. His life force and presence were shrinking. He dropped down from true God level to butterfly class. "Right now, aren't you just a pig for me to kill?" Han Sen raised his knife and swung it. Many knife streams were in the sky. They moved with Han Sen like a galaxy going into the young man's body. Arg! The young man forced himself to use his holy body's time and space power. But butterfly time and space powers were not enough to block Han Sen's stream of knives. Pang! The young man's body was hit by the knife stream. He exploded with a blue light. A trail of blue light quickly went into the darkness. In the darkness, the young man gnashed his teeth and yelled, "Han Sen, I will kill you." Han Sen ran into the darkness, but he could not see that young man's body again. He frowned. Han Sen looked back. He saw a pile of blue metal chips on the floor. Han Sen used his purple eye butterfly to take a look at the chips. He quickly discovered that those pieces belonged to a metal doll. It had to have been a treasure for copying one's body for survival. What a shame I did not kill him. Han Sen looked at the bodies of the demon lady and the others. He waved his hand, and their bodies were collected in Destiny's Tower. Han Sen did not like them much. If it was not for Little Flower, he would have killed them while he was destroying the Holy Palace. Now that they were dead, Han Sen was not going to be sad. They were true God-class bodies. Han Sen wanted to take them back and see Little Flower's reaction when he saw them. If Little Flower had no objections, Han Sen would happily turn them into Geno fluid. He looked at the ruins of the Holy Palace and departed the Big Baron systems. After leaving the Big Baron systems, he teleported back to Space Garden. Han Sen thought, Super God Spirit Body and Super Spank are powerful, but I am not sure what power that was. After killing the God Spirit, they will be destroyed and not leave anything behind. To me, that is not beneficial. I will be unable to get God Spirit genes or God Spirits. I also won't be able to get God Spirit armaments. I will be unable to make myself stronger. He thought he should kill low-level God Spirits, first to find the God Personality armament that was suitable. Then, he could move on with saving Golden Growler. After returning to Space Garden, Han Sen saw 9000 King. He had delivered the xenogeneic genes to Space Garden, which was how he had avoided being killed. Han Sen told him about the demon lady and the others being killed. He also told him about the young man. When 9000 King heard all of that, he was infuriated. He gnashed his teeth and said, "He is a traitor." "Do you know him?" Han Sen asked. "How could I not know him? He was the master's favorite student. The master even gave him a name. They shared the same name even. His name is Qin Lan. Master treated him like a son. His reputation was higher than the 10 generals. I did not expect him to betray everything." 9000 King looked very angry. He wanted to skin Qin Lan alive and get rid of Sacred's traitors. Han Sen asked 9000 King about Qin Lan, but 9000 King did not know much. He did not know Qin Lan was a gene clone of Qin Xiao. He did not know anything. The Xenogeneic genes 9000 King brought surprised Han Senator. There were many true God class and butterfly class Xenogeneic genes. There was enough there to make Little Angel true God class. Han Sen thought, the leftover resources can make someone else true God class too. Who should I give them to first? Aside from Little Angel, who was able to combine herself with him, the others could help him out in less obvious ways. It was hard for them to match him. There is no rush with this matter. I'll just leave things as they are for now. I have to put a God personality into a God personality armament first. Han Sen found a chance to be dollar again. He took the God personality to the God Palace. Chapter 2991 Getting a God Personality. Han Sen had 3 God personalities. They were the Destruction class Sky Armor God and Evil Lotus God, as well as the Annihilation class Kill Sky God. Han Sen went to Evil Lotus God's God Temple. He wanted to see what type of armament Evil Lotus God's God Personality armament was. Why is Dollar here again? Did he not just kill Moment God? Maybe he is a bloodthirsty mongrel. I don't know what level of God spirit he is challenging. It should be at least a Disaster Class 1. He killed a Disaster Class Moment God, so there is no way he is challenging something of a lower level. While everyone was discussing it, Han Sen walked into Evil Lotus God's God Temple. All the audience felt a little weird. What is going on? Why is Dollar challenging a Destruction Class God spirit? No. That God Temple must be shut down right now. He cannot challenge it. Why is he in there? What is going on? After a while, everyone saw the God flag on the God Temple start to shine. Before long it went dim. The God spirit must have been killed. Han Sen quickly came out from Evil Lotus God's God Temple and went to Sky Armor God's God Temple. The same thing happened again. Han Sen quickly emerged from Sky Armor God's God Temple. Holy shit! What is happening? Dollar can enter a shutdown God Temple and slay the spirits inside? Is he cheating? Ordinary creatures did not know the difference between God temples and sealed temples. They were all frozen. He is not leaving. Dollar is headed for the God Temple upstairs. He is not going to challenge a Disaster God spirit again, is he? No. Dollar already challenged a Disaster Class God Temple group. He is still going up. Does he want to challenge an Annihilation Class God spirit? He went in. He really went in. While everyone was watching, Han Sen pushed open the shutdown Kill Sky God Temple. He walked inside. The God Temple's door closed itself. Like the God spirits that descended died outside the God Temples. Only someone holding the God spirit's God personality can enter. Normal creatures did not kill descended God spirits. They did not know this method to enter the God Temple. Before Han Sen entered Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God's God Temples, he killed the defenseless God spirits inside. They did not have God spirits, but he had received the God personality armaments. Evil Lotus God's God personality armament was a purple crystal lotus flower-shaped ring. Sky Armor God's God personality armament was a half-body armor. It was different from what Han Sen expected. He had been hoping for a weapon. Han Sen did not try out what kind of power those 2 God personality armaments wielded. He went to Kill Sky God Temple and saw Kill Sky God's empty shell God body standing atop the God altar. He looked very powerful but without anger. Han Sen already had the experience, so he knew it was just a useless empty shell that could not fight back. Han Sen's eyes scanned Kill Sky God. If he wanted to kill a God spirit, he had to destroy his God base. Otherwise, the God spirit's healing power would have been too strong for him to destroy. Evil Lotus God was a low-level God spirit. Han Sen was able to slash open his God body and find the God base with ease. An Annihilation class God spirit like Kill Sky God was different. It wouldn't be as easy for him. Fortunately, Han Sen saw Kill Sky God be killed by Wanner. He saw it clearly. He knew exactly where the God base was, which saved him a lot of trouble. He was not going to use Super Spank this time. He was afraid of destroying everything, and then not being able to claim the God personality armament. In the end, he summoned his Sky Vine Radish God Lance and pierced toward Kill Sky God's God body. The Sky Vine Radish God lance was thrust into the empty shell that was Kill Sky God's god body's chest. Sparks erupted everywhere. The strike only damaged his skin a bit. He did not even bleed. Kill Sky God's real god body is stronger than the universe god body he used when he descended. Hansen knew he would be unable to break a god base like that. He hesitated and summoned the Kirin's Holy Spirit. He made it possess the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance suddenly burned with white fire. Hansen struck again. This time, the tip of the lance managed to perforate it a lot. It also ended up getting stuck within the muscles and bones. Hansen thrust and thrust. He was busy for quite a while when he finally pierced through the blood and the bones inside. He saw the chest releasing a black and smoky heart. That is it. Hansen's thrust the heart. He noticed the heart was even harder than the god bones and god flesh that had kept it protected. Hansen held the Sky Vine Radish God Lance and attacked it for half an hour before finally being able to pierce through the heart. He wiped away the sweat that had accumulated on his forehead and said, "Luckily, that guy possessed someone when he descended to chase me. If he had used this god body to fight me, my fight would have been harder." After completely destroying the heart, Hansen quickly brought out the Kill Sky God arm bone. The god body turned a light substance and headed toward Hansen's own arm bone. It all went into his bones. The black light of the bones grew stronger. It was floating inside Hansen's hand. When all the light substance melted into his bones, the bone light looked dim. After the light was gone, Hansen saw the arm bone become a black bone hammer. The bone hammer was far too cruel. The hammer was just a bit bigger than a fist. It was like a rubber hammer in a house. Why is this hammer so different when compared to the hammer Kill Sky God wielded? Kill Sky God's hammer was so much more powerful. What is this tiny thing for? Hansen complained, but then an announcement played. Annihilation Class God Personality Armament received. Kill Sky Hammer. Hansen looked at the Kill Sky Hammer. The name was very powerful and overbearing, but it looked very small. It looked like a black bone hammer. The head was a cylinder. Both sides of the hammer head had a god symbol. It looked old and mysterious, but Hansen did not know what the two god symbols meant. When he and Kill Sky God fought, the big hammer had those two god symbols too. They likely represented his power. Just like before, Kill Sky Hammer had a message in Hansen's head. Kill Sky Hammer Annihilation Class God Personality Armament. Seeing Kill Sky God get resurrected, Hansen did not dare remain. He put the Kill Sky Hammer into his Sea of Soul, and swiftly departed Kill Sky God Temple. All the races of the universe were looking at the Kill Sky God Temple. They saw him emerge from the God Temple right when the God flag flashed. Then it went dim. Clearly, a God spirit had died inside the God Temple. Really? Dollar killed an Annihilation Class God spirit, and the temple was closed down. This seems fake to me. Does he play like that? All the creatures opened their eyes wide. They were not able to believe it. Hansen had just exited the zone of the god temples when he saw Bai King floating in the air. He was laughing at him. Chapter 2992 Holy Body Geno Fluid. We must find a place to talk, Bai King said to Hansen with a merry laugh. Okay. Hansen wanted to know why Bai King saved him earlier, as well as why Bai King was happy letting him claim all the benefits he wanted. Bai King did not say anything. He merely led the way. Hansen believed Bai King would lead him back to the Extreme King, but he did not. Bai King stopped on an asteroid. He then just sat on the crystallized asteroid. He smiled and waved at Han Senior. Sit. Hansen sat down and asked, "Why have you come looking for me?" Bai King pointed at the God Palace in space and said, "You must have now seen the power possessed by an Annihilation Class God Spirit. If you are going solo, it will be impossible to win in your fights at the God Temple. If we combine our forces, perhaps we stand a chance. What do you think?" Hansen checked Bai King out. He did not answer his question. He quietly asked, "Why me? Give me a reason." Bai King seemed to know that Hansen wanted to ask that. He smiled and said, "It is very simple. It is because of it." Bai King stroked a ring on his finger. It was a metal ring with a black gem on it. There was no special power possessed by it. When one looked at it, one would believe it was an ordinary decorative ring. Han Sen had a closer look and thought, "This black gem looks like the black crystal horizontal evil gave me." Seeing Han Sen's reaction, Bai King smiled. He stroked the black crystal on the ring and said, "This ring is a treasure given to us by our Alpha. He brought it back from sacred. The Alpha used to say that if a creature can make this ring create a reaction, the Extreme King must help that creature in any way they can. Only that creature can make the Extreme King free and powerful. Has it reacted to me?" Han Sen asked with a frown. Han Sen did not believe Bai King was a person that listened to his Alpha. To become a king, all of them had incredible confidence and faith in themselves. They would not have listened to the ramblings of an old Alpha and listened to an outsider like Han Sen, who was their enemy. Bai King nodded and said, "Yes. This ring has been passed through many generations of our race, but it has never reacted before. We started to think that whatever Mr. Alpha said about it was not true. Over the billions of years waiting for it, the time has come. We waited billions of years, and are now finally here. When you are next to me, the ring reacts. It is so deep in the soul that only the person wearing the ring can feel it. It is so strong and clear. It was at that moment I knew you were the person the Extreme King had been waiting on for billions of years." Han Sen looked at Bai King and did not speak. That story would not have only existed in a storybook. Han Sen had a hard time believing that someone would remain that loyal to anything. It was not like the world did not have anyone loyal, such as 9,000 King, the Demon Lady, and the others. They were loyal to Qin Xiao, and Han Sen believed they were. The Extreme King was different. It was easy for one person to remain loyal. For everyone to remain loyal generation after every generation was not something Han Sen could believe. After 3 generations, one tended to forget their ancestors. If one person developed in a foreign country, no one would really remember their motherland 3 generations later. The Extreme King had been going on for many generations. If they said they still believed in the Alpha, whoever believed it must have had a problem in their brain. Bai King seemed to see through what Han Sen was thinking. He stroked his ring and said, "Of course, Mr. Alpha's speech was not the main reason I treated you so nicely. It was because in that speech, you were the key to the fate of the entire Extreme King. That means I have to treat you so well." "What key?" Han Sen asked. "The extreme bodies of the Extreme King come from sacred leaders' test subjects. It was something called Holy Body Genofluid. If the Holy Body Genofluid was a success, then all the creatures can activate their potential and gene origin power, so that their genes could evolve. Then, every creature could get their super holy body." After speaking, Bai King looked at Han Senator. It seemed as if he wanted to ask something, but he did not ask anything. He continued with what he was talking about. "Ever since Sacred collapsed, the Holy Body Genofluid has not succeeded. Our Alpha used the half-finished Holy Body Genofluid and received the special body. He used that special body to survive amidst the chaos and keep the Extreme King alive." "Is that special body a king body?" Han Sen asked. Bai King nodded and said, "Yes, it is a king body. That special body plays a big part in genes, but it is different from normal genes. In the beginning, the Extreme King people were able to activate their king bodies. Some geniuses were able to activate their king bodies by the time they were 15 or 16 years old. Everyone activated a different kind of body. As time passed, the bloodline kept becoming lighter and lighter. Now the Extreme King people can only activate their king bodies by the time they reach king class. Most of the Extreme King cannot activate their king bodies anymore." Han Sen looked at the ring and asked, "What does any of that have to do with this ring?" Bai King put the ring down and placed it in front of Han Sr. "According to what the Alpha told us, that ring is a tool for testing king bodies. It will only work for a successful holy body." Han Sen took the ring and placed it in his hand. That very normal ring suddenly made his soul shake. It seemed as if it was able to make the black gem inside Han Sen moan and groan. Han Sen kept stroking the gem in the ring and thought, "It is very amazing, but I feel the black gem in the ring is different from the black crystal." Mr. Alpha believed Sacred Leader had a backup plan, even for a time after this death. We believed someone would take up the mantle to proceed with his research on the holy body genofluid. We just needed to hold on to that ring and wait until the real holy body genofluid came out. At that time, our king bodies would be perfected. It would be a perfect holy body. It would not be like a king body that becomes a little harder to reach as time goes by. Bai King looked at Han Sun, as if his eyes were on fire. If you want to get the holy body genofluid from me, you are wrong. I have never used holy body genofluid, and I don't know to make that stuff. After saying that, Han Sun threw the ring back at Bai King. Bai King picked up the ring, smiled and said, "We can talk about this another time. Today, I looked for you so we can cooperate for the killing of an annihilation class god spirit. Are you interested?" Han Sun knew Bai King must have something more to say. He stayed quiet a moment before asking, "Which annihilation class god spirit do you want to kill?" "Moment God." Bai King slowly said those two words. Chapter 2993, United Rain slid down the roof. It landed on a stone board and created some bubbles. Looking outside, there was an old house at the peak of a mountain. There were also lots of other mountains. The rain created a layer of mist that draped the mountains. Crunch! The rain was very heavy. The door of the old house opened. Because the house was so old, the door made sharp noises. Even the sound of the heavy rain was not able to keep it down. The big door of the old house was pushed open. The first thing that appeared was an elegant pair of red high heels. Next, there was a white smooth jade leg and a red qipao. A woman was wearing a red qipao. She was holding a red umbrella. She walked into the house with her body wagging seductively. Her hair was like a cloud. "Fortune teller, how long are you going to hide?" The red-clothed woman with the red umbrella walked into the center of the old yard. She looked at what was in the house and spoke her words like a ghost. Her voice was soft, but the rain still could not hide it. The room had a door with flower carvings on it. It was pushed open. An old man stepped out with a flag. His other hand clutched a wine gourd. He was sitting on a broken square table. After taking a sip of alcohol, he looked at the red-clothed woman, who was outside, and said, "If I were able to hide for 1 hour, I would hide for 1 hour. If I could hide for 1 more second, I would hide for 1 more second. I would rather survive for as long as possible than be dead. If I can live a bit longer, I will live a bit longer." The rain was too much. The umbrella was very low, so one was not able to see what the red-clothed woman looked like. Yet her ridiculously curvy body and long black hair, which looked like a waterfall, were very eye-catching. One may not have been able to see her face, but one could recognize her. "I am afraid you would prefer death compared to living," the woman chillingly said as she stood in the rain. The old man laughed and said, "That means you are here to collect my life." "It depends on whether you are accurate or not," the red-clothed woman said. "That will determine if I take your life." The old man picked up his gourd and had another sip of alcohol. He squinted his eyes as he asked, "So was I accurate or not?" "You were accurate but also not accurate," the red-clothed woman replied. "I really don't understand what you are saying." The old man laughed as he asked, "Which is accurate, and which is not accurate?" The red-clothed woman was silent a moment before saying, "The prediction you did for my master was very accurate. The god palaces appeared again, but the other half is not accurate. The god palaces did not break through. They still suppress a full sky." The fortune-telling old man laughed. "Master is in too much of a rush. It is not time yet." "There is only a month left," the red-clothed woman said. "Even an annihilation god temple has yet to be broken. I do not see how the Geno Hall will be broken in a month. When the time comes, you will understand." The fortune-telling old man looked dull. He looked at the red-clothed woman and said, "But I suggested it first. Your master needs to do as the old man says. If there is no mistake, the prediction will come true." "I am here for that," the red-clothed woman said. "My master does not understand why he must do that. What does it have to do with breaking the god palaces? That person has the ability, but he has never reached that level. With his power, he cannot break the God Palace. Predicting someone's fate is not easy. The old man traded his whole life to get this result. About the progress, I, the old man, cannot predict it all. If you do not believe the old man, you do not have to do it. The fortune-telling old man spoke, as if he did not care. I hope you are right. Otherwise you should know that if you make the master mad, even that guy in the Geno Hall will not save you. From now on you stay here. Until that day comes, you can predict your life. You can't blame others. The red-clothed woman turned around and left after speaking. In the rain, she walked until the rain covered all vision of her body. The old man squinted his eyes and looked at the sky full of rain. He said to himself, if I did not want to, do you guys think you can really find me and trap me here? You really underestimate me, Han Jinji. While he was speaking, the old man was holding the wine gourd and the cloth, which had the word destiny written down. He walked out of the living room and headed for the yard behind the old house. The raindrops dripped off the old man, wetting his clothes and hair. Only the cloth that told one's fortune did not touch any water. It was like it was immune to the rain. The old man walked to the farthest part of the yard, which was the highest point of the mountain. He waved his hand and walked a few circles in the yard. After a while he calculated something. He paused for a bit before placing the cloth into the gap of the stone board. He walked back a few steps and looked at the cloth. He fixed the angle and position. With a look of satisfaction he said, the end is not the end of fate. I, Han Jinji, cannot change fate, but I will not let that moment be the end. After that, the old man walked back into the living room. He laid on the broken bed and yawned. He quickly fell asleep. Han Sun and Bai King spoke for a while. Han Sun then left the asteroid field. Bai King wanted to kill Moment God. It did not seem like a mere coincidence. He knew the relationship between Han Sun and Golden Growler, so he must have known Han Sun was planning to save Golden Growler. Bai King had also mentioned he had a way to break the time god powers that had claimed Golden Growler, which would allow Golden Growler to be set free. He could then use Golden Growler's power to fight Moment God. After everything came together, Bai King planned to kill Moment God. Bai King did have a request. After Moment God was killed, he wanted to be the one to take the God personality armament. Han Sun did not have a problem with that. He lacked the confidence for killing Moment God by himself. If it worked, he was fine with giving Bai King the God personality armament. In Bai King's plan, he needed to have Dollar do it. He also needed to cooperate with Han Senator, that very much troubled Han Sr. Bai King only knew Dollar was the holy baby. He did not know Dollar was Han Sun too. He saw Han Sun go to save Golden Growler, and he agreed with Han Sun's power too. He asked Dollar to contact Han Sun, so that he could chip in and help them out. Han Sun thought Bai King knew his secret, which is why he asked him. After Bai King's explanation, he knew he had no clue. Bai King only knew Dollar was the holy baby, and that the holy baby came from Space Garden. Thus, he guessed that Dollar was a good friend of Han Sun, and wanted him to contact Han Senator. Bai King never imagined a crystallizer, and a Xenogeniac would have been the same person. Where am I going to find a Han Sun for him? Han Sun had a wry smile. Although Space Garden had many elites, none of them had developed fully. He could not find anyone who was able to disguise himself as Han Sun or Dollar. Chapter 2994 Finishing Wish. Back in Space Garden, Han Sun had been troubled by the situation. Although he was able to use Han Sen's identity to reject the proposal, Han Sun had tried his hardest to save Golden Growler. This was a good opportunity. If he rejected the offer, Bai King might grow suspicious. Although Dollar and Han Sen's looked different, ordinary people would not suspect them as being the same. Unfortunately, people like Bai King knew Dollar was the holy baby. If Dollar and Han Sun were not able to show up at the same time, he could start thinking things weren't the way he presumed them to be. Han Sun thought, this is far too troublesome for me, but I have no choice. I have to decline the offer. He was not able to think of an adequate solution. If he waited any longer for other humans and spirits to develop, by the time he was true God, He could find someone else to disguise themselves as him. Right now that was too difficult. Beezesty, beezesty. While Han Sen was thinking, he heard a buzzing noise. It was like something was rapidly flapping its wings next to his ears. He looked closer. He did not know when it had appeared, but there was a small bee next to him. Han Sen thought it was weird. How was a xenogeniac be able to fly there? Where he lived had the protection of a bysema. A xenogeniac of that level could not bypass the bysema. Pang! The little bee turned into smoke, and a beautiful little girl fell out. She fell right into Han Sen's arms. Han Sen discovered it was Bauer who had fallen out. Bauer? She was wearing a big pair of sunglasses. Bauer was clinging to Han Sen's neck. She laughed and asked, "Dad, where have you been lately? Why don't you play with Bauer anymore?" "I have recently." Han Sen thought of something. He slapped his legs and switched the topic of conversation. How could I forget about the sunglasses? In the next moment, Han Sen developed rapid excitement. He quickly picked up Bauer and asked, "Bauer, can you use these glasses to look like Dad?" Bauer tilted her head with confusion as she asked, "I can, but why would I want to look like you?" "Don't ask me that," Han Sen said. "Just quickly tell me how long you can become me for." One Bauer thought for a moment and said, "Your body of energy is strong. If I want to become you, it will cost me a lot of power. It will last around 1 hour." 1 hour? That is almost enough. Han Sen was quiet a moment and then said, "Try becoming Dad now." Bauer was very nice. She used her sunglasses to scan Han Senator not long after. She successfully turned into Han Senior. "Can you use this?" Han Sen reached out his hand. His hand had the flame of the Xian Yellow Sutra. Like this. Bauer reached out her hand. Her hand was just like his. She had the Xian Yellow Sutra's flame. Han Sen was very happy. He used a few Geno arts. He soon found out the Geno arts Bauer could use were his xenogeniac Geno arts. They included Blood Pulse Sutra, Xian Yellow Sutra, and Jade Skin. She was able to use those Geno arts. The Dongxian Sutra and the Story of Genes were something she was unable to cast. Han Sen's heart jumped. He transformed into xenogeniac battle body mode and told Bauer, "What about this? Can you look like me right now?" Bauer used her sunglasses and scanned him again. She successfully turned into the Han Sen xenogeniac mode. Like before, while she was in xenogeniac mode, she was only able to use Jade Skin and Blood Pulse Sutra. She was still unable to use the Dongxian Sutra and the Story of Genes. Regarding the Super God Spirit mode, no matter what mode she was in, Bauer could not make use of it. Han Sen thought, "It's just enough. Bauer can use xenogeniac mode to disguise herself as Dollar, and I can come out representing myself Han Senior." He gave Bauer the Evil Lotus Ring, Skybone Armor, and Kill Sky Hammer to see if she could effectively use them. Bauer used the Evil Lotus Ring and Skybone Armor. The Evil Lotus Ring shone with a purple light. It turned into a purple shadow that covered her body. This was the Evil Lotus by Sema. It had good resistance to every power. It was good stuff for the purpose of surviving. The Skybone Armor had a knife light. It was like many knife lights protecting Bauer. The Skybone Armor was a very rare armament that could attack and defend. The knife light protected the body to provide powerful defense. And the knife light was also like a saw that could strike things. It was very powerful. The Kill Sky Hammer was able to break space in a single hit. The power it possessed was ridiculous. Any Bysema would break under the Kill Sky Hammer. When Bauer enters xenogeniac mode, she is very powerful. With these 3 God personality armaments and me next to her, she should be fine. She will just leave if anything bad happens. Han Sen thought this was doable. He explained things to her once and asked if she wanted to take part. Bauer can become Dollar Dad. That will be so fun. Bauer will love it. Bauer looked very excited. Moment God's power is unpredictable, Han Sen told Bauer. You need to be careful. Listen to my commands. You will enter the God Temple later, and you will be the first one to leave. You cannot risk fighting Moment God. Just pretend and swing the hammer a few times. Your father has got this. Little Angel had been drinking Geno fluid by the gallon, and she was almost maxed out. She still probably would not catch up and be at what was required for the fight in that God Temple just yet. The next day, Han's son had to meet up with Fox Queen. He became dollar and wore the sky god crown. He returned to his god of wealth temple. The god of wealth temple had just opened. Fox Queen secretly came before the god temple. While still outside, she said, "I am Fox Queen. Please, let me see you, Mr. God of Wealth. Come in." Han's son stood atop his altar. He looked very serious when he spoke. "Greetings, mister." After Fox Queen entered the temple, she bowed. "What I promised you is possible," Han's son coldly said. "Were you doubting my power? I would never dream of doing that. It's just the 9-spin destiny mirror is too important to the fox race. That is why I feel very nervous. Please forgive me." Fox Queen was very scared as she kowtowed. At the same time, she was very excited. Take it." Han's son's heart jumped. The 9-spin destiny mirror appeared in the air. It flew toward Fox Queen. When Fox Queen had the 9-spin destiny mirror in her hands, the sky god crown displayed a message in Han's son's head. Wish fulfilled. Received 300 lifespan. An additional requirement master and slave contract is available. Many lifespan years flew out of Fox Queen and went toward Han. Senator Han's son witnessed his lifespan increase. He had a lifespan of another 300 years. His total lifespan was almost 3,000 years now. Han's son also saw that Fox Queen's forehead had a mark that said, God of Wealth's Wealth. It had some special connection to the Sky God crown. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.